right. We are live. What is going on? This is Randall 419, the man, back again with another episode of the Xbox 2 podcast. And with me,
take cover,
as always, is Jez Corden, and I think I have something screwed up on OBS.
They can't run from you.
Oh, why? Are we not live?
No, we are. It's just that something
What's going on?
weird. I don't know. There was just a audio glitch. It was weird.
I can see the stream on my end.
No, it was. Yeah, there was extra audio that forever. Either way, it's fine now, or at least should be fine.
Everyone said turn off the gameplay audio.
Yeah, which is weird because it wasn't there. This is how OBS is weird because it wasn't there before when I was setting it up, and then suddenly when I started it, it was there. It's pretty loud. So
fair enough.
OBS is always weird when it comes to stuff like that.
Do you want to start it again so I can cut this off?
This is how OBS is weird because it wasn't there before when I was setting it up, and then suddenly
doing it live,
when I started
baby.
It was professional podcast doing everything live. We're sorry, so let's do it again. I think the button has been pressed. What is going on, everybody? This is Randall 419, the man with the Billy, back again with another Xbox 2 podcast, and with me, as always, the man who just had mayo with fries. Sickening. Because he was posting stuff on Twitter. Jez Corden of Windows Central. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, pal. Yes, I just went to a lovely German restaurant here in Germany. Had some Schnitzel mit der Pommes and mayonnaise. Pommes is German for French fries, if you didn't know, Rand.
Yeah.
So, very, very delicious. Mayonnaise is the best way to go when it comes to French fries. And, that's... Played a lot of one game this week. I was going to say I played a lot of games this week, but I haven't. I played one game nonstop, and I bet you can guess what it is. But how's your week been, Rand? Have you had any? Did you have the mayo with fries like you promised?
No, because you slandered Halo, so I didn't do it.
I would never slander Halo. What are you talking about?
Yes, you would. You would always do that. Anyways, my week has been excellent. You want to know why? Because it's all about Halo, baby.
Yeah, I think this Halo game's got potential, man. I've seen a lot of people talking about it. It's a spin-off of Fortnite, right? Because it features the green guy from Fortnite, so I think it's got potential, man. A lot of people talking about it.
That's not what you were saying earlier to me, though. That's not what you were even saying in my DMs.
What was I saying in DMs? I can't even remember.
God, what were you saying? You were saying that you were saying a whole bunch of stuff to kind of get me going.
Did it work?
No, because I know you're just. What did you say? Soda Drinker Pro is better than Halo? Something like that.
Well, yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Best AA game I've played in a while.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, but thanks for everybody. Thanks for everybody for being here. Saturday, we're an hour earlier than usual because Jez is in Germany. And how was your trip to the restaurant?
It was good, man. It was good. I like I say, had some nice food, but now I'm here, slightly drunk, but ready to podcast and talk about this week's news. It was not a hugely eventful week, I would say. I mean, we had the Blizzard stuff last week, and there's some new Blizzard stuff this week, but there hasn't been a huge amount of groundbreaking news. But we're gonna persevere and talk some Halo, talk some the Ascent, and now that the embargo's lifted, and we can talk about that, and talk about Xbox's sales, and yeah. So, what do you want to start with, buddy, my old pal?
Man, there's so much here to talk about. I actually have played a bunch of games. So I'm going to briefly talk about a couple of the ones that I've played. So as you guys file in here, do us a favor and hit the like button and share this out because, Google is the way it is. YouTube not sending out notifications. And, of course, me not making as many videos as I should. I only made 3 videos this month. Some of it, I was sick and wasn't feeling good, and some of it, personal problems. But hopefully,
Happens, man.
Yeah, it happens. So hopefully August will be better. But I really kind of, I don't know about you. Like we do get I get a lot of messages about like, hey, the podcast, maybe you should just move it to Sunday. You know what I mean? Because we kind of sometimes have to, or move it to Saturday officially instead of doing it on Friday. But it's kind of tough because mine and your schedules are completely off. Sometimes I can't do it. Like yesterday, it was impossible for me to do it. And I told you that on Monday. I was like, we have to do the show on Saturday because I cannot do the show at all on Friday. So it's just one of those things where it's like the show is, if we can do it, and I don't know about you, but I would much rather do it on Friday.
Friday is generally the best day for me. It just sometimes just doesn't work out that way.
Yeah.
So like Friday is the day we'll aim for always, but because there's only two of us and we do it live and there's time zones, like sometimes there's just going to be disruption. So
yeah,
apologies to everyone for the inconvenience on that, but it's just a thing.
Yeah, and we want to do the show, so I'd much rather do the show on Saturday than have to skip a week. And couldn't skip this week, because we got to talk about Halo. We got to talk. I mean, Jez, how I'm like sort of. Well, I wouldn't say everything's gravy when it comes to Halo. I was having some issues. There are other things that we have to talk about, but yeah, that's what happened yesterday. Would literally have been impossible for me to do it, so we had to do it today. But yeah, let's talk about Last Stop briefly. Have you heard about this game, Jez?
What, Halo?
No, Last Stop. Last Stop.
Oh, The Last Stop. I've heard of it. Someone on our team reviewed it. It's a narrative adventure game, right?
Yeah. So it's from...
That's the best way to make me not interested in a game.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It is basically like a Telltale game. The reason I was really excited for it was because they made one of my favorite indies of last gen, Psychonauts 2. Or not Psychonauts 2, what am I thinking? Virginia. And if anybody who's played Virginia knows it's a very different game. It's a narrative-driven game that has no dialogue. It's all told by visual cues and music, and has some of the best music of all last generation, honestly. So I was like, I'm going to play this game, whatever their next game is, I'm going to play it day one. And it was coming to Game Pass. So I was like, cool. So, I'm really interested. So I played it, I beat it. It's about 5 hours. And there's 3 separate stories with a bunch of different characters. There's like this guy who's a little bit older and his daughter, and they something happens, and I'm not going to spoil for anybody, but something happens with him and another character, which is very interesting. It's the best story in the game, right? There's this other character, Mina, and she works for this sort of private sector thing, but her story isn't as interesting. So all these stories are separate, Jez, right? And when you start it up, when you do chapter 1, you can pick whichever one you want to do. And then once you do the 3, it'll go to chapter 2, and then you can pick any of the 3, and then you finish them, and then go to chapter 3. And then the other one is Donna, who's this like teenager in school, and she runs into this very mysterious guy. And I thought it was it was the voice acting was good. There was enough suspense and mystery to keep you going to try to figure out what was going on and how these stories would eventually converge into the ending. But I will say, for me personally, the ending was incredibly disappointing, how they all came together, and it basically ruined the game for me. I know that's a little bit harsh.
Wow.
But I was really enjoying the game, trying to figure out what was going on, and the way it all came together was just completely... It just wasn't very, not in a satisfactory way whatsoever. I was left feeling very underwhelmed, to the point where I honestly felt like I wish I didn't play the game.
Wow.
Like it was about 5 hours. It was just that disappointing. The ending like for me.
Wasted the 5 hours.
I wouldn't. I mean, it has some cool things, and it runs well on the Xbox. A lot of people, if you're playing it, you'll see like he kind of just like walks a lot sometimes. But I felt the dialogue was really well done. Unfortunately, like you would say something, but then the person you're talking to would only have one reply. So no matter, you would have three choices, to say, but it didn't matter what you actually said because the response was always just going to be the one thing. So there's not a lot of wiggle room there. There's not a lot of like replayability, so to speak, to see different stuff like that. So I played that, wanted to like it a lot. Really, really, really did. And I just, yeah, really didn't. I know you've been playing Final Fantasy 14 and you're loving it. Is it really, really that
and
good?
The Ascent, I completed the Ascent too. Like we couldn't talk about the Ascent last week, right?
No, we'll talk about that in today's show because I have some thoughts on it as well.
All right. Yeah, like I've been playing the Ascent and Final Fantasy 14. I talked about Final Fantasy 14 last week, right?
Yes.
I won't go deep into it again. But I got further into the end game now. Did some raids. Like the raids are super cool. The art's amazing, and like if you played like the pixel Final Fantasy games from back in the day, they're very nostalgic. There's like some classic bosses reimagined in 3D, like the Cloud of Darkness from Final Fantasy 3, which absolutely blew my mind. I was like, oh my god, I can't believe this. There's just so much nostalgia in the game if you're like a long-time Final Fantasy fan. But I haven't got to the true end game yet. I'm just sort of playing like the old content at the minute, but I'm loving it, man. It has a really good story. Honestly, I think it has some of the best characters of all Final Fantasy games. But the problem with it is it's so slow to start. Like it literally took me a whole year to get into it. Like I got to like level 20, I was like, man, I'm so bored of this. When I'm like level 50, I'm like, wow, like it's become really spectacular and almost like like a true Final Fantasy game. So I'm having a blast with it. And yeah, if you like MMOs, definitely check out Final Fantasy 14. But other than that, I've just been playing the Ascent for review, which we could talk about now if you want, or not. It's up to you, man.
All right, I'm gonna read some super chats here. We got one from Carlos who says, Death's Door, Microsoft Flight Sim, The Ascent, Halo Flight, Forza 5 Biomes. It's August, and we still have Hades and Psychonauts 2 coming up. Xbox is killing it. Our buddy Sin Vendetta says, not to bring down the mood a little, but I do want to acknowledge the passing of Joey Jordison, the ex-drummer to Slipknot, and one of the best drummers in metal. Rest in peace, Joey. You'll be missed. I did say you also tweeted something out about the Slipknot drummer.
Yeah,
So.
Joey Jordison, like absolutely incredible drummer. Like I have seen Slipknot live, but sadly it was after Joey had left the band. But like if you watch videos of Joey online, he's just a staggeringly amazing drummer. And like he's got like they had this whole crane rig where they put the the drum kit upside down and it would spin around and stuff. And he'd play the drums like at a 90-degree angle. The dude was just crazy. But like I suppose he had a lot of demons, like a lot of people in the business do, and alas,
it is very sad, and I do like me some Slipknot, so it's very unfortunate. Smoke Show says, what TV are you using for your Xbox? Jez, what TV do you use for your Xbox?
I use a Samsung Q. Well, right now in Germany, I'm using the 2019 QLED. Is it the Q60R? I think I've got the Q60R, but it might be another Q something R. But I love this TV. Like the colors are amazing. It doesn't do 120 hertz at all in any configuration. It's 4K 60 only, but the colors are absolutely amazing, and it's actually better than my 2020 QLED that I bought for England. I don't know why, because they cost the same, but the colors are better on this older TV. I don't know why. Maybe I'm doing something wrong with my other TV, but yeah, I absolutely love Samsung QLED just because they integrate well with the whole Samsung Smart Things ecosystem and stuff like that. But yeah, you use an OLED, right? LG.
Yes. I'm a big proponent of OLED. Anybody who asks me what TVs they should get or whatever, I always say get an LG, get an OLED, get a CX, get a C1 or whatever different variations they have. It's the best TV you can get. It'll make all your games better than ever before. Like honestly, you'll look at some of these games and be like, I didn't know things could look this good. And not only that, like the CX can do 4K at up to 120 hertz, so you can play Halo Infinite at 120 frames and still retain the resolution. right? Because some of the other TVs can do 120 frames, but it'll drop down the resolution. It's got variable refresh rate, which means you won't see frame drops and you won't see screen tearing. And, if you have VRR, Jez, I don't know if you saw this, but even Microsoft Flight Sim on a TV with VRR can run up to 120 frames per second on the Series X and S.
Yeah.
Digital Foundry tested it.
VRR is probably the thing that I miss the most, like more than the 120 frames maybe, but,
It is well worth
Can't
the
have
purchase.
it all.
It is well worth the purchase of a TV. Not saying you need to, do a baller, get like the 77-inch, which I wish I had. They have like a 48-inch, 55-inch, 65-inch. I have the 65-inch one, and it's the best purchase you could make, especially if you game a lot, because everything will just look absolutely insane on the TV. So, Professor Chaos says, "Take my money, just please don't tell my wife. I hope you two are having Kardashians dipped in mayo type of day." Well, Jez is.
Kardashians dipped in
Jez
mayo.
is. So
I don't know how I feel about that.
and we did have a super chat earlier about Jeff Grubb blaming you for Xbox. One from RDX Son of Fed who says Grubb blamed Jez for no Game Pass numbers. #update, which we will talk about when we get to the financial things because I need to know the story behind this. What did Jeff Grubb say? He blaming you for stuff, Jez?
Yeah, it's kind of true, but also kind of mean. I'll explain it in a sec.
Yeah. So I also played Microsoft Flight Simulator. Finally released on Xbox this week on Tuesday, and a lot of people downloading it and playing it. Have you checked out? I don't know if you played this on PC when it came out last year, or if you played a little bit on console. Did you try it out?
Which one?
Microsoft Flight Sim.
I played it a bit on the Series S, but honestly, like, I'm sort of these games that are supposed to be like graphically amazing, I'm sort of getting fed up with the Series S now. Thankfully, I did find someone very, very kindly on Twitter offered to sell me their Series X. So I do have a Series X on the way, purchased from someone on Twitter, and so hopefully I can go back to 4K very soon because I'm bored of 1080p now. But it's just not my kind of game, man. I'm sorry. You know me. I don't like narrative adventures. I don't like simulation games or these kind of simulation games anyway, because like I don't know, they don't feel very involved somehow. I can't even explain it. It's totally a me problem. Like I admire the technical achievement. I admire the visuals and all that stuff, but it's just not my kind of game. But I did play for it. I did play it a little bit. My girlfriend did some of the tutorials. It was fun watching her crash over and over again.
Yeah. So I loaded it up as well. And I already knew going into it wasn't going to be my thing, right? So I loaded it up and I spawned by Midway Airport in Chicago. I flew downtown between the Sears Tower. I flew over White Sox Comiskey Park. I flew over the Bears Stadium, and it was cool flying over the Bears Stadium because they actually have like the C logo in the middle of the field, and they have the the Bears written out on the end zones, right? And I'm like, this does look really good. Like, that was the biggest takeaway for me was like, this game looks incredible. Then of course I flew over my house, right? I had to make sure that my house was there. And like flying around the town, it was like, oh, that's where I went to school and all this different things. And I did some of the discovery flights where you're flying around some really cool locations. And that was it. And that's probably all I ever play of Microsoft Flight Sim. That's it. Like, I already kind of knew going into it that I wasn't going to play it for long. I'm not a Flight Sim person. I just kind of wanted to see a few different sites. And, I might check out a couple of the other Discovery tours, like maybe visit the pyramids or something like that. But
yeah, that stuff seems cool. I think one of the issues I had too is like my internet not here isn't that great. So I think like when it was trying to stream in the data, that was sort of impacting how impressive it looked in some ways. Because I was using the streaming version, I didn't download the full thing yet because I wanted to test out the cloud aspects of it. So I think like my internet speed might have impacted my experience to some degree. But Yeah, it's just not my kind of game, man. I'm shallow. I need violence, man. I need some kind of violence. Like even in Surviving Mars, like there's violence to some degree. Like if a dome runs out of oxygen, everyone dies, and then it's like there's your violence.
Yeah, right.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
I need therapy.
But I mean, how many people in chat are playing Microsoft Flight Sim? First time playing a sim game? I'm kind of be interested in like hearing someone's first experience, because this game definitely is obviously geared towards, the flight sim community. But with it being so accessible on Game Pass, I wonder how many people downloaded it and had it as their first flight sim experience. Because I can imagine that being sort of frustrating a little bit, because it's not, even if you set everything to easy, it's not exactly like super easy to fly a plane like you're playing Crimson Skies or any other game, like actual game with like flying, right? So and we have a few people here, Louis and Xcoin, saying that it was their first. A lot of people loving flight sim, so that's awesome. Yeah, I don't know what else I'll do in that game, but I'm probably gonna delete it because it is like 110 gigabytes of space, and I think I need to start deleting stuff. I have the expansion, the storage expansion card, and the internal, and I'm starting to get close to like no space on either one of those right now. And I've been kind of like, well, do I delete this or do I delete that? I do delete things like if I've completely completed them, like Last Stop or whatever. But I have games on there that I might go back to, like Resident Evil 7. I beat twice, but they're gonna have DLC, so like I don't really want to delete it and then have to re-download it if I want to play it. But all these games taking up all this space, you know what I mean? It's
Yep. I don't have the SSD expansion card on my Series S either, and I'm feeling the pinch. I'm feeling the pinch of that. So
the pinch.
Yeah.
Look at Jorge saying, Bears fan, you can't be friends. Go Pack, go. I mean, I'm from Chicago. What team do you think I would like? Of course, it's the Chicago Bears. And you're lucky that Aaron Rodgers decided to go back to the Packers. Otherwise, your franchise would be, I don't know, horrible. You're lucky that you went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, and the Packers were relevant for so long. Because once Aaron Rodgers leaves, the Packers are going to suck.
Are you talking about football right now?
Yeah, we're talking about football, American football. Not,
American football.
Yeah, I just, we had a Packers fan in here, and I had to put him in his place. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So, yeah. So Microsoft Flight Sim and Last Stop, and you know what? Let's talk about the Ascent, Jez, shall we? Because you played it for a review. You finished it. I'm about 10 hours in. I haven't finished the game completely, but I do have some thoughts on it. What'd you think overall? Like, I know you gave it a 7, which is a little bit low. And I remember talking to you when you were playing it, and you were super high in the game. You were like 9 out of 10, like, oh my God, this game's amazing. And then all of a sudden, the more you played, the less you like it. So tell us what you think.
So, like, I previewed the game, and I was pretty hyped from the preview. The preview slice gave us access to, like, the first area of the game and the first, like, little boss fight sort of thing. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the demo, and I was like, wow, this has a ton of obvious potential. Like the full game is this good, and then it progresses nicely. But it's a reminder that the preview demos never tell the full story, and it's always important to wait for the take a measured approach to these things and wait for full reviews and stuff like that. Because I did find the further I got into the game, the less impressed I was with a lot of aspects of the game. Like the biggest problem with it is the RPG layer for me. Like it doesn't feel good. The progression system just doesn't feel great. It's sort of like it starts feeling arbitrary very quickly. There's a lot of abilities that need better balance and stuff like that. Some abilities just aren't viable. They're just not viable. And some abilities are way more powerful that you just wouldn't use any other ability. Same goes for weapons. Some weapons just aren't as viable as others. And there are some really hard fights in the game. And it was just like, I can either use these skills which look cool, or I can use these skills which are clearly more powerful. So it needs a lot of balance work and polish in that space. The other biggest issue with the game, the UI is terrible. When I was going through it, I kept getting increasingly frustrated because I'd be trying to mop up side quests and it'd be like telling me to go to places that either I wasn't accessible yet because I hadn't unlocked them in the story, or they were like underground or in a different elevation, and it's not clear. The quest markers are not clear at all. Sometimes they just lead you to a dead end. Like there's just a load of bugs with the UI that definitely needs a ton of improvements in that space. So, the more I played it, like the less impressed I was with the graphics, which are stunning, by the way. The graphics are absolutely magical. It's probably the best thing about it, the graphics. But the RPG layer and a bunch of the other systems just like make the game fall short, I think. And hopefully they stick with it and update it and fix some of that stuff, because I don't think it's unsalvageable by any means. And it's still like, I still gave it 7 out of 10. Which I felt was like pretty generous considering how frequently I was frustrated with the quest markers and stuff. But yeah, I mean, considering it was led by a team of 12 people. About looking at the if you look at the stats, it about maybe about 100 people worked on the game. So it's not like only 12 people worked on the game. It was led by a team of 12 people, and then they had like a bunch of support studios pitch in and stuff like that. Shinobi Studio pitched in as well. Wushu Studios helped with the game. So it's but yeah, I liked it. I expected a bit more from the preview slice that I played, and it's got obvious potential. Like I think like it could be great with a few tweaks. But yeah. But that's it. It felt like it was designed to be a twin stick shooter, and then somewhere along the way they were just like, let's make it an RPG, and then they never actually finished developing that layer of the game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Shout out to Hans or Senior says, Jez, looks like your Series X will arrive on Monday. Thanks for the shout out.
Yeah. Hans sent me the Series X. Very kind of him.
So here's the thing about the Ascent. It's a game that I really, really want to like, right? I enjoy the twin stick shooting. I think that works perfectly fine, and I do like twin stick shooters. And the game is just absolutely gorgeous. The world that they have built, handcrafted, whether you're on the city streets, that reminds me so much of Blade Runner. Like the detail packed into like every screen. Like I'm watching OBS right now, and I'm in this like nuclear reactor thing or whatever the hell I'm doing in this level, and it's all blue. And just looking at all the different cables and electricity going by, like it's packed. Like every single screen, every single inch of the game is just packed with detail, and care, and love. Yeah. Like it looks incredible. One of the best. I think it's one of the best looking games of this entire gen so far. Like that's how good it looks. And then the explosions when you blow something up, the particle effects that come out of it, or any of that, like that stuff is so cool, and it doesn't really get old. The more and more in play of it. I do agree with you that the RPG mechanics are kind of half baked. Like it seems like they wanted to do too much. If they just kept this world with the twin stick shooting, but kind of just didn't go too heavy in the RPG stuff with the attributes to your armor, which I look at that and I still can't tell like, okay, which one's better. Like it has all these different stats, but it kind of just makes my eyes go crossover, right? I don't know. Like I don't really care for the RPG stuff. I will say, like, I tried playing this in co-op. You can play it in 4-player co-op. And I know, like, you're supposed to. You're supposed to play it in co-op, even though you can play it in single player because the game can be difficult, especially for one person. But co-op basically sort of didn't work for me.
The co-op. We tried doing co-op.
Yeah, we tried playing co-op, and
the co-op system it's just poor in co-op. Honestly, part of me just thinks like they didn't know what kind of game they wanted to make. Like it feels like someone on the team wanted to make a drop-in twin stick shooter, and I think that's where it would have been best if it was just a twin stick shooter, jump in, drop out. Like what's that PlayStation twin stick shooter that was really good? I can't remember what it's called now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
On the PS4, I can't remember what it's called. It was made by a Swedish studio.
Next Machina? Are you talking about that one?
No. Was it Descenders? No, that's that bike game. Oh man, it's bothering me now. It's like three player co-op drop-in co-op twin stick game. But anyway, if they'd made it just a pure twin stick drop-in co-op game like that, I think it would have worked a lot better. But someone on the team was like, nah, this needs to be a full-blown RPG with tons of dialogue and tons of lore and, tons of atmosphere, vendors. Oh, Helldivers, that's the game. Sampo says in chat. If they'd made it more like Helldivers, more focused, I think it would have scored a lot better. But the fact, like, in four-player co-op, you can't really experience the story properly. Only the host can see the cutscenes. And the cutscenes are long. So a lot of the time, you're just standing around waiting for cutscenes to play out, which isn't a very good co-op experience. It's best experienced in solo play, which is not great if you're marketing it as a co-op sort of game.
Well, there's some of that, but I'm just talking about the bugginess of the game overall, which really impacts it in co-op, right? I tried playing it with Colt, me and him doing co-op, and every single time we do it, like, something went wrong. I would get stuck in a menu, and I couldn't move until he, like, transported me forward, or the game would crash, or we would get to where we were supposed to go, and, the markers would be like, you need to go here, but nothing would happen. And it's those sort of things that, after, like, you experience it a bunch of times, you just get frustrated. Like, So, like, co-op basically didn't work for me, right? Either my game would crash, or I get stuck in a menu, or Colt would get stuck, or, whatever, and it was just like, yeah, we should just play this. I'm just going to play it solo. But then, when I play in solo, like, I would do a side quest, and then I'd get to where the game would want me to go, and I couldn't do anything. And I'd be like, okay, am I not supposed to be here yet? Like, you know what I mean? It sort of feels like the game is like 2 patches away from being like finished. Because I've run into issues where like a boss was supposed to spawn, but the boss didn't spawn. So I had to quit the game and then load back in to get the boss to spawn. Or I was supposed to go here and this
issue like that.
Yeah, I was supposed to go here and the door was supposed to be open. And it wasn't open. Like, it just, these glitches that just add up over the course of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I had a boss like that with a bug like that with the boss, but instead of the boss not spawning, I had 3 of the same boss spawning, which was, let's say it was a bit difficult. So, yeah, there's just loads of issues with the game. I think the progression mechanics too, it's like the whole cyber deck and hacking layer of the game. You don't get the final cyber deck upgrade, which lets you hack ATMs for money until the end of the game. But by the end of the game, there's nothing to buy. There's literally nothing to buy. So why would you need that? It's like the game suffers from a general lack of testing, I think.
But it's frustrating because the game, I see so much potential in this. I see potential for a franchise, right? Like, the world they built is incredible. Like, just walking down the different areas and seeing everything, the different signs, or the people at restaurants or in the club or wherever, it's like, it is so damn cool. And the way they built the twin stick shooting, right, where you fire from the hip, and you hit the smaller enemies, but then you hold left trigger to raise your gun and you can stagger enemies, or you crouch behind cover and hold left trigger to shoot enemies over cover. Like, I actually dig that mechanic a lot. So there's aspects of this game that I really enjoy, right? And then there's the problems that the game has, and it's just one of those things where it's like, oh, man, they probably should have delayed it another month, had a couple more passes, make sure all the, everything spawned right, there are less bugs, that co-op worked flawlessly before releasing it, because, people talk about the game and they're like, oh, and this is something I wanted to talk about, like, people talk about these Game Pass games launching day one and not working properly, and that it should be on Microsoft to sort of fix this or make sure that the games work correctly. Do you agree with that? Is the Ascent not working like it should with all the bugs, or like Outriders not servers not working properly and having problems, or MLB The Show Day One, or any of that stuff? Is that on Microsoft, or is that more on the developers? Like, because I have seen some people saying like, Microsoft needs to make sure that these games work flawlessly because they're promoting them for Game Pass, and then people jump into play them because they're in Game Pass and they don't work, so that makes the service look bad. What do you think about that?
It's a good point. Does Microsoft have a responsibility to, ensure the Game Pass meets a certain level of quality? I think, like, as well, there's this whole argument of like, what kind of games should even get into Game Pass? Like, I think Death's Door would have been a better Game Pass pick than the Ascent, personally.
Well, I could see why they picked the Ascent, though. 4-player co-op, right? Get friends to play it.
Yeah, sure.
Get them subscribe. New IP. I do agree with you that Death's Door would have been also amazing, but yeah, continue on. I'm sorry. Sorry for interrupting you.
Nah, it's fine. Like, I suppose it sort of is what it is, right? Can't win them all. I think there was a lot of hype pinned on the Ascent because it's exclusive and whatever, and maybe that's unfair because it is an indie game at the end of the day, and it's easy to forget that because of how absolutely stunning it looks. I think it just honestly suffers from a lack of testing. Like, a bigger studio would have had like way more access to testing than the Ascent did. So, overall, I think like it's a great effort, and also it's only $30. So like, I think on that basis alone, like, even if you forget that it's on Game Pass for a second, it is $30, which I think reflects well in its price. So I hope they stick with it. I hope they develop it. I hope they do DLC, because like I say, I did have a blast playing it. And it's not like I was ever bored while playing it. I was just kind of like frequently frustrated with some of the issues, like the waypoints and the progression mechanics were not very exciting and stuff like that. Like, a lot of the abilities were unbalanced and all that sort of stuff. So, but overall, it was a pretty good game. Good. Well, more than a good game. It's better than average. Like, 7 for me is above average. So
I would totally recommend this game to anybody after they fix some of the buggy problems. And maybe add a difficulty, because I think they are adding a difficulty selector, because right now there isn't. I think they are adding one, so if you want to play solo, it can be a little difficult. But I would totally recommend playing this game. I think after a couple patches, the RPG stuff will probably never really be good. And like the world, the way it's connected, trying to figure out where you need to go isn't the best either. But like, it doesn't really bother me because I just really like being in the world and seeing everything, you know what I mean? Like, even when you have to like go back and it's just like, just seeing everybody clustered together in this cyberpunk world is so cool. But yeah, let them patch the bugs, let them make co-op actually work, and then play this game. Because I think it's worth playing. I think what they have there at the core, the twin stick shooting and the world, the graphics, like everything they pumped into it's worth experiencing. Even though the story's not the greatest, I think it's still an enjoyable time, especially if you play it in co-op. It's just right now I think it's too buggy. It's too buggy.
I thought the story was quite strong if you just like look at it from the characters. I thought the characters were great. Did you meet the club boss, the shipmaster, wherever?
Actually, in this clip I recorded, that's where I'm at. I just beat the club part. Yeah.
Like, the design of that club guy, I was like, what the hell, man?
Dude,
this is some seriously cool
the design of the club, dude. Like,
yeah, like the club is, I don't know what they did, but the engine they've got there for like having so many NPCs on screen while maintaining a fairly high level of fidelity is really impressive. The club is absolutely packed with NPCs. There's like hundreds of NPCs in there, and like you have to fight in there as well.
Oh yeah,
like they're all ragdolling all over the place and stuff.
They're
like
all over,
crazy.
and there's civilians everywhere, and you're just trying to kill the enemies while also shooting civilians. And another thing the game does incredibly well is the AI. Like, They just
Yeah,
don't sit
that I
back
always
and
agree
let
with
you
you.
pick them off. They'll come flank you. They got different types of enemies to flush you out of cover, so you're always constantly moving. So I think that, you're always on your toes because you can get stuck or get kind of sandwiched between enemies and then just lose all your health and stuff. So yeah, it's just one of those games where I just wish.
The twin stick aspect of the game is best. As a twin stick shooter, it's great, but everything else is a little bit falls short, I think.
Yeah, I just wish it was one of those games where they were like, all right, we need an extra month. Let's do a couple more passes, make sure everything works properly, and we're good to go. But otherwise, I just think it's worth playing. Just wait for a couple patches, and 100% play it.
I
Dead
think
Planet.
if you're a solo player, you could play it right now. Like I had fun playing it solo. Bugs, notwithstanding.
Well, I'm playing it solo, and like I said, I've had issues with side missions not going to the right area or not letting me continue with them, which is frustrating because sometimes you have to walk 600 meters to go somewhere, right? If you don't have the fast travel stuff unlocked for that area yet. So you get there and you're like, okay, let me do what I need to do, and you can't. So you're like, okay, this sucks. Like, I've had bosses not spawn. So I've had to reload the game multiple times to get things, to have the scripting work correctly, right? Which can be annoying, and the more it happens, the less it makes you want to play it. But I just kind of keep coming back because I enjoy the world. I enjoy the mechanics of the game. I do love me some twin stick shooters. It's just when a game like this comes out and you're playing it and it's like, this game's got potential up the ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like, but some of this stuff is just dragging it down. It's you kind of just wish that it's like, yeah, man, you should have just delayed it a little bit so everything worked properly and everybody.
So I guess like they can't do that because it's like, and if it's announced as the Game Pass title for that month,
yeah, that's true.
It sort of puts an extra pressure on to ship it on that specific date. I suppose like there is a scenario where Microsoft would be like, well, this is completely broken. Like, yeah, we'll let you delay it a bit. But I think the fact that it is tied up to Game Pass adds that extra bit of pressure on getting it out on time, I guess. But oh well.
Did you see the it's the same game on PC as it is on Xbox, right? It's on Xbox Series X. It's on Xbox One. Did you see the disparity in the Metacritic? A lot of people were talking about it.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I think like maybe is it on Xbox One yet?
Yes.
I wonder if a lot of reviewers reviewed it on Xbox One and that affects the score.
No, most of the reviews are on PC. It's just that
but they're separated on Metacritic.
They are. So I think
but they're not separated between console. So someone reviewing on Xbox One is also someone who's lumped in with reviewing it on Series X.
Yeah, because I think on PC it has a 75, which is a good score, right? I actually kind of think that's where it is right now in the current state of the game, right? But on the Series X, it is a 64. So you have a lot of the console warriors on the PlayStation side being like, oh, another Game Pass fodder game. And I wouldn't say this is a quote-unquote Game Pass fodder game. There is a very solid game here that is worth playing. It's just that people hyper-focus on that 64, and people talk about like media bias and stuff. And the reason it's that low on Xbox is because there's not a lot of reviews for the Xbox version, and someone gave the game a 2. This game's not a 2. So
yeah, a UK clickbait tabloid outlet, which probably shouldn't even be on Metacritic because of their clickbait and their business model. The Metro is a free UK newspaper that's distributed on public transport, and they just post clickbait. They're there to entertain, not inform, because you're on the bus for like 5 minutes and then you throw the newspaper away. So I don't know why they're on Metacritic at all. They have no credibility whatsoever, and they do give games like these outrageously low scores based on nothing. So that's why it's low on Xbox, is because of this one clickbait tabloid called the Metro, which is pure garbage. It's useful toilet paper in a pinch, though, I guess.
Useful toilet paper in a pinch. I like that. No, yeah,
If you're like on a train and there's no toilet paper and you desperately need to go, chances are there is a Metro newspaper in the train for you. So
that's good. That's why it's lower. Is because someone gave it a 2, and I played. Look, this game's not a 2. It has issues, but like it's still a solid game. It's like a 7, 7.5. And if those were fixed, it probably would be higher. For me, it'd probably be like an 8 or something. But it's not a 3. A 3 is basically a broken game or a game that is like so bad. You know what I mean? So yeah.
it was clickbait. That review was pure clickbait.
Pure clickbait, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so that's the Ascent. I figure, okay, we talked about the Ascent. Let's talk about. Oh, Jez, you know what time it is. It's Halo time. It's Halo time.
It's Halo time. This is my favorite indie game on the Citadel.
Yeah, I know, right? So I guess before I go into this, what did you have you? I'd ask you if you played it.
I'm playing it right now, actually. I have played it. I did play it yesterday a little bit. I'm playing it right now. It's just bots, right?
Yeah,
just bots right now.
Just bots. Maybe real people on Sunday. Maybe, possibly.
Ooh. Of course it will. Of course they'll do that. If they teased it, it basically means we're gonna do this. But I'm not a Halo guy. You all know that. I did used to play the original Halo a lot. Skipping school as a kid. It was the only game I had for my Xbox for a long time. And we used to do all the 4-player split screen thing, the quad split screen stuff. And I played a hell of a lot of it, but I never really got into the online versions of the game. I played Halo 4 a little bit online, I think, and maybe a little bit at Halo 5, but I couldn't ever really fully get into it. Time to kill was slow for me. I prefer the chaos of Battlefield, or the more tactical, squad-based stuff in Overwatch more recently. But Rand, I don't really feel like playing Overwatch anymore. I don't know why. I don't know why. Some stuff happened recently, and it just kind of made me not feel good about playing Overwatch lately. So yeah, I do need another shooter in my life, and I have to say, Rand,
here we go.
Really like
clip this.
How Halo Infinite. What? Clip what?
I was gonna say clip this because Jez is about to say he really likes Halo. Clip this and spread it all over the internet.
Okay. I admit Halo Infinite feels really great to play.
Ooh, yes. Tell me more.
Like the time to kill, I'm a Halo noob, so don't come at me if I say anything that's incorrect or whatever. But I feel like the time to kill is not as slow as I expected. And I don't know if that's just because of my memories of really old Halo. It doesn't feel like I'm hitting a bullet sponge. That is an old impression I had of Halo compared to Battlefield. It often felt like I was trying to shoot into a bullet sponge because of all the shields. But it doesn't feel like that in this. It feels like a lot more, faster and more when I shoot something, I feel more impact from the weapons and stuff like that than I would have done previously. And these are just sort of off the cuff thoughts. I haven't written anything down or done any proper analysis. I will say though, Rand, I'm not really impressed with how it looks on the Series S. I don't know if you've played it on the Series X, right? How does it look on that?
It looks. It looks. I wouldn't say it looks absolutely incredible next gen whatever, but it's fine. It looks good. I'm more concerned about how it runs, for the multiplayer at least.
Yeah,
and
it runs great. It there's no issues with the frame rate or nothing, but I just the visuals just I just came in from the Ascent, right? I came in from the Ascent to Halo Infinite, and I'm sitting here thinking, man, the Ascent looks a lot better than this. It just doesn't look that good to me. I don't know. Maybe that's unfair. Maybe they haven't fully implemented some of the shaders or whatever, but it just doesn't really look that great to me. Sorry if that's mean or whatever, but I expected it to look better than this. I really did. But also it could be like the Series S, and like I say, I am getting a Series X soon, so like maybe my tune will change. But the shadows are like flickering on the Series S. I don't know if maybe that's a bug or something. Like the edges of objects are shimmering, which is something that really irritates me. And I don't know if it's my TV. Like I don't know if my sharpness is too high or something. I need to adjust it, but I don't know. It just doesn't look that great, but it plays really well. Like the weapons feel great. Am I wrong, Rand? I swear to God, didn't Halo have a dash move at one point? Like
Yes,
with
yes.
jetpacks?
So Halo 5,
Have
you
they
had
removed
you
that?
get the thrusters. Yes, where you could thrust in a direction and get away. They did
Why
remove
have-
that for this.
Why have they removed that? I like that.
I mean, I'm sure they probably given official reasons. Maybe they would
Do you
say
like
that
it?
like the maps had to be designed a certain way to fit in with the thrusters. Like did I enjoy the thruster? Yes, because it gave it gave extra mobility. Like you could sprint, you could then thrust, especially if you're in a firefight. Because Halo's one of those games where if someone's shooting you first, it might be a little difficult to get out of the way and return fire and kill them. But the thruster gave you that ability, like, oh, you're getting shot, let me thrust behind something real quickly before they kill you. So it does remove some of the mobility from Halo 5. And I mean, some of my friends really don't like the fact that the thrusters are gone. So
Yeah, I miss the thrusters. Like I was trying to use them. I played Warzone a fair bit in Halo 5, and I was like, man, which button are my thrusters? Why aren't my thrusters working? And then I realized, oh, they've removed them. They've also removed the ground punch thing, right?
yes, they
Unless
removed
I'm going
the
crazy.
hover and the ground punch as well. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Like maybe I'm wrong, and maybe purists will be like, oh man, it needs the thrusters removed or whatever. But I kind of, as a casual Halo guy, I kind of like I noticed that the thrusters were gone. I noticed the ground pound was gone, and I noticed that the hover was gone. Even though I was like a casual sort of Halo guy. Like what have we gained exactly here? We gained the skewer, which is pretty fun.
New
but
weapon. Yeah.
I suck at using it though. Like I don't think I've landed. Well, I've landed one skewer hit so far. Like, does it have a travel time? I need to learn all this shit.
I don't. That's a good question. It's just it's basically seems like it's the skewer is going to be used for like vehicles, like they did in the trailer where they shot one at a warthog and it just destroyed it, more so than like a sniper to hit Spartans. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're doing the
Oh, well.
180. It's the prophecy is being fulfilled. Jez is becoming a Halo fan.
Yeah, maybe I am. I need to see what the story's like and whatever. But this because like Overwatch is dead to me. This could end up being my go-to shooter. Who knows? And I did just punch a guy across the map, which was hilarious.
Yeah.
Man, what the hell? What the hell is Master Chief eating that he can punch a dude across the map like that?
I mean, he's a Spartan, man. You can just a lot of weight behind those punches. So yeah, I'm gonna get a couple super chats here, and I'll tell you what I think, because I do have a lot to say about it. Dead Planet says, "Man, what an opportunity Xbox has in front of it if Horizon really is delayed. The fall to themselves, hype up Halo, push Forza, big break here." Beaner8127 says, "Love the show. You guys just gained a new listener with my son being born on Sunday. We love listening to your podcast together." Well, congratulations. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Like, you have like a dad and their son listening to the show on a Sunday like that. I don't know what to say. Like, that's incredible. And he also says, "I think I heard Playground has a third game in development with the bear and piatas in the E3 trailer. Are they hinting at a rare IP?" Jez, does Playground have a third game in development?
I have no idea. I haven't heard anything to the effect that they've got a third game in development, but who knows, man? Like I get info about new projects all the time. I recently got info about 2 upcoming games.
Oh God, here we go. You're gonna be in the latest articles. Here we go, Jez.
Oh, I'm not offering any of these. Although I might have teased one of them on Twitter very vaguely recently. Which no one
Another
noticed.
2 games you found out about, Jez?
Yeah, I found out about another 2 games that Microsoft's working on. These are like far out again, like Project Dragon and stuff like that. But Microsoft has a ton of stuff in the pipeline, an absolute ton of stuff. I now know about 6 projects that are in development, and I have documents for these projects. Six games, and that's not including Jeff Grubb's Kojima game, and that's on top of all the other stuff we know is coming. So there is a ton of stuff on the way, So, but yeah, good eating, man. We're gonna be eating good in a year or two.
Yeah, there's a lot of games in development, and people don't believe that, but it is definitely true.
But I haven't heard anything about Playground.
Yeah. Shout out to Fun Speculation, my guy. He says, shrimp. Is this still a thing, the Xbox shrimp? Or are we on to this now, the Dragons? Really enjoying this past week by Xbox, the Ascent Flight Sim, and Halo Flight. Yeah.
Oh, man. You need to ask Special Nick about the shrimp.
Yes. Nick is the one that is the keeper of the shrimp. So, my Halo Infinite experience. Obviously they had some issues on what was it, Thursday, right? They were supposed to put it out early in the afternoon. It didn't really go live till Friday, and I was able to download it like right away. I know a lot of people were stuck pending in the Halo Insider app. Fortunately for me, that wasn't the case. I was able to download it right away. And I was sitting there at the main menu, hearing that music just wash over me. I was getting goosebumps, Jez. I was getting a little emotional. Halo's back, my favorite franchise. We haven't had a Halo game in essentially 6 years at this point. So hearing that music, like I'm about to sit down and play a brand new Halo game, Halo multiplayer. I was so excited. I tweeted about it. And then, of course, as I expected, you couldn't really get games right away. You couldn't really get games because server problems and stuff like that. And you know what? I'm fine with it. I'm fine that they had problems with it because I'd much rather you have problems now than have problems at launch. So if this helps, 343 not have any issues, then I'm all for it. And this is a tech preview. Because I know a lot of people are, call it a beta, but it's definitely not a beta. They are testing out their tech, specifically for this one, testing out their servers and the, collecting information about the bots, which, yeah, it's a little bit disappointing for the first thing against Halo to be against bots when you really just want to play against, real people, right? And that first night, the bots on Marine difficulty were just pushovers. You'd win every single game 50-5. And, okay, you'd understand the map, where the locations are, and, the different weapons, the new ones, and you get it, okay, let me try out this stuff. And the bots weren't any, they were pushovers, right? But immediately when you start playing it, outside of like some, they have some UI issues that need to be fixed, which I'm sure that will, because this is a build that splintered off like 2 or 3 months ago. There's black screen when it's loading, which I'm sure they'll insert some, screens so people aren't just looking at a black screen. And there's party up issues where me and Colt were trying to play and then it couldn't find us a game. One of us would get in, but the other one wouldn't. That sort of thing, which is annoying because when I want to play with my boys. The only time I could really get game after game after game was when I was playing by myself when I recorded all this footage. And then on Saturday they updated the bots to ODST, which is another difficulty, and they had a new map. And the ODST bots are much more. I mean, they're more lethal. They're better. They games started being 50-20 or 50-15, 50-25 instead of being 50-5, and you couldn't just treat the bots with disdain, right? Like you could in the Marine difficulty. Like you had to take them seriously because they could screw you up. So I'm interested in seeing if they go up to another level, like whatever the level beyond this, like legendary bots or whatever, to see how difficult the bots are there. But for the most part, I am really loving what I am playing right now. I need to actually get into it and play against real people before I can definitively prove or say how I truly feel about the game. I need to play big team battle and see how the vehicles work and play on all the maps and all that stuff. But like right now, the initial impression is, man, 343 nailed it. It feels really good to play. You know, there are some changes that I'm sure some of the hardcore won't really like. I've seen a lot of people talk about the outlines of the characters. You notice that, Jez? The outlines, like enemies are outlined in red, your teammates are outlined in
I kind of like that though. Like you can see more easily when the shield's going to come down, but maybe that's casual. I don't know. See, this is one of the issues with Halo. Is like there's like it's got such a legacy that people like everyone wants something specifically different from the game. Like I like the boosters, but then I got people in chat saying, "Oh, the boosters are stupid." You know, like, and when the older a game gets, the harder it gets to please everybody. And I think like games like World of Warcraft and Gears as well are seeing this issue. Like the older a game gets, the harder it is to do something new because you don't want to piss off the fans, right?
Yeah. No, so there's the assault rifle starts, which I know a lot of competitive people don't like. They want the BR starts. The online stuff doesn't bother me. You can make it any color you want. I know people complaining about the shield pop not being that visible. I can see the shield pop, but I do have a tough time determining whether or not the character actually has shields left, where you can then just one-shot them. That's not really apparent when I look, but the actual pop of the shield is very noticeable to me. So, yeah, like the new weapons, the Commando. I love the Commando. I think it's a great weapon. The Skewer's cool. I really want to use it against some vehicles. I
just got the Ravager. Have you tried that?
Yeah, the Ravager. I haven't. I think I've used the Ravager once, but I will say like the two maps that we played, Live Fire and Recharge. Live Fire kind of got old right away. Not much to that map. Kind of a training ground. But Recharge really is where I started thinking like, okay, they might have something here. Like more than I originally thought. Because I'm a Halo fan. I'm going to like this game regardless. Because it's more vertical. And then finally, that's the map that has the grapple shot. And when you get the grapple shot, and you get the gravity hammer, and you're sort of like harpooning somebody, right? Like there'd be an enemy, and I think I have a clip somewhere during all this footage of I have the gravity hammer, and I see an enemy across the way, and I grapple shot right to him, smash him with the hammer, right? So the grapple
Brendan doing that.
Yeah, so the grapple shot and the gravity hammer and that map, the verticality of it, really opens up a lot more possibilities. So it's like, while I was getting a little bit bored of the Live Fire map, the Recharge one, when that one came online, I was like, okay, now this is something. Now we're talking here. So, I don't know if you've noticed, but sprint is barely faster than regular walk. I don't know if you noticed that, where sprint was much faster in Halo 5. It's basically...
Does it still boost your melee, though?
Does it boost...
There was that whole thing... Hang on, am I getting it mixed up with Destiny now? Because in Destiny, if you do like sprint and then melee with the Titan, it does more damage. But maybe I'm going crazy.
I think Halo's melee does as much as, same amount of damage as whatever. But the only thing with sprint is that you can then go into a slide and start shooting. And don't really want to sprint too much because it puts you on radar. Which I don't know if that was a thing in Halo 5. I'm not really sure. But now if you do sprint, you end up on radar. And considering sprint and the walk speed are basically the same, you really don't want to be sprinting that much because you don't want to be on radar. And another one of their changes that I noticed immediately was in 5, if you got shot and you started to sprint away, you would have to stop for your shields to recharge and get your health back. They made it so your shields recharge at any point. You could be sprinting and your shields recharge. So
I didn't know.
Yeah, that's something that is going on. So, man, it's... I really kind of want to play against real people, and I know that's supposed to happen on Sunday potentially to get a true feel of what the game is. But I'm impressed by what I played. I know, there's going to be some small things that people won't like, or, even that I don't like, there's I kind of think some of the equipment isn't very useful. Like the drop wall, I think the drop wall is completely useless. Like, there's no reason to ever use it. It's just like a useless piece of equipment. So it's like, I've used it. And it's just, and no, this is like already you can tell like this has no useful function whatsoever. The grapple shot though changes things. The movement with the sprint and removal of, I don't like that the thrusters have been removed because I really enjoyed that. So that's kind of you have to live with it. But man, the guns sound so good, and they're all really good to use, which is really important. I'm psyched, man. I think 343 might have nailed it again. They nailed it with Halo 5, and we'll just have to wait and see. I need to see how Big Team Battle plays. I need to see how the vehicles all, perform. See how many maps there are at launch, right? Because that's going to be a big thing. What are the playlists? Are they going to have a playlist for people that enjoy, battle rifle starts or stuff like that? You know what I mean? Because I know that's what a lot of people want. So we'll have to wait and see. But for me, I've played a bunch of it already of this tech preview. And, man, I cannot wait to see what else they have in store for us. And, coming months, right? I imagine they'll have another tech preview where it'll be just PvP stuff. So that'll be super interesting. But if you're out here, Jez, right? Like, you know me. Like, I'm a Halo fan. I'm going to like it, right? So, and I'm definitely going to complete the survey, and I'm going to give my feedback of what I really like and, some of the stuff I don't. And obviously, the campaign's important. But if you, of all people, someone who's been trashing Halo and slandering Halo on every single podcast we've done since Halo Infinite's been announced, if you think it's fun, because you're a casual Halo, you're not even a Halo fan. You're just a casual. You're just a dirty casual, Jez.
Yeah, that's me. Dirty casual.
So Face says there's 4 months left till November. Why don't they give a release date for Halo Infinite? Are they not confident? What do you think, Jez?
Yeah, I almost tweeted the other day because when Horizon was delayed to 2022, I saw a lot of people gloating about it and stuff like that, and I was like, well, don't be surprised if Halo gets pushed back as well, because this is the year of delays. And I do want to say that I haven't heard anything to the effect of Halo will get delayed. I mean, the fact they're doing testing now is probably a good sign, gives, a lot of time to polish up the game and all that stuff. But, we do live in weird times, and there is a sort of big dent in the whole gaming industry right now. A lot of disruption, people coming back to work, and getting back to grips with all things. Pipelines are changing. Support studios are in high demand and not really available. It's kind of almost like the writer's strike. Do you remember the writer's strike in the early 2000s in Hollywood, where loads of TV shows just had loads of delays or really bad writing for a while because there were no writers? It kind of reminds me of that in a way. But so yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it did get delayed. I really wouldn't. But I haven't heard anything to the effect that it will get delayed. So just don't go around gloating about Horizon, if you're a fanboy, because you might be eating some crow in a few months.
Are you saying that you think Halo's going to be delayed?
No, I don't know. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if it did. I haven't heard anything, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I would be surprised if it got delayed.
Fair enough. Right.
I mean, with everything they're saying, Phil basically said they know when it's going to launch within a 3-week window. If that's the case, I would be really surprised if it got pushed to next year. We already got them making Krispy Kreme donuts. So, talking about the game.
Krispy Kreme donuts. But, dude, we had a whole Cyberpunk console before the game came out.
Sure.
Remember that?
Sure. No, we did.
Are you jealous about the donuts, by the way? UK only.
Yeah, I don't really care for donuts.
You don't care for donuts?
Yeah, I don't.
What kind of American are you?
I don't know. Not a good one, I guess.
I thought Americans subsisted almost entirely on donuts.
I wish. Yeah, it's could it be delayed? I mean, sure, it could be. I don't think it is. I don't think it's going to get delayed. I don't think they're giving a release date because I think they want to know when Call of Duty's launching for themselves.
Yeah,
And
that makes sense. Yeah.
you know, Call of Duty's a big release for Xbox. It's going to bring in a bunch of money. And you don't want to release Halo Infinite. You don't want to come out and say Halo Infinite is November, 16th or 15th, and then have Activision be like, Call of Duty is the 16th. Because that doesn't, that's not good for both Xbox and Activision because you don't want to release both those games within a day of each other. So I think they're waiting to see when Activision is going to drop this new Call of Duty. And I think Call of Duty is going to come out on the 12th or the 16th or maybe the 12th or the 19th. And I think there's the possibility that Halo is going to launch on the 23rd, the week of Black Friday.
I think they should launch it the same time as COD.
You think they should? Just to give it to Activision? Just to say...
Yeah, just stick it to Activision. Just launch it on the same day. Screw it. The multiplayer is free to play. Go for it. I'd say truly go for it. Just go for the jugular. Release on the same day. I know that it's controversial because they don't want to step on the toes of their partners potentially. But what's COD done for Xbox lately? What's Activision done for Xbox lately?
I mean,
Screw it. I say launch on the same day.
I mean, COD makes a bunch of money for Xbox.
Screw them, man. Screw them. Launch on the same day. Launch it an hour before COD comes out. That's what I would do. Just to be a dick, or the day before. Do an Overwatch. Do what Overwatch did to Battleborn. Launch on the same day. Oh man, do you remember that? That was pretty mean.
Did they launch the same day, or did Battleborn launch before it, or did Overwatch launch before Battleborn?
Nah, Overwatch. If I remember right, Overwatch had a open multiplayer beta the day Battleborn launched, impromptu.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Flame said, "Did you guys see the clip of the bots teabagging? I did see that online, and that's kind of funny."
Bots can teabag. You know what? I did wonder if bots would teabag because I did just get killed, and a couple of bots were running towards me, and I was kind of thinking is he gonna try and teabag me? But then I got distracted by something, so I did wonder if they'd include that. That feels like the kind of thing Microsoft would do because they're all up about this advanced AI stuff, so I don't know. That's interesting. Is the battle rifle better than the assault rifle or no?
Yes. Yeah, if you're really good with the battle rifle, you can basically outshoot somebody with an assault rifle. And that's why I think a lot of hardcore Halo fans, they want the BR starts because a lot of people don't like the spray and pray of the assault rifle. So, you have these playlists that start with the assault rifle, and a lot of hardcore Halo fans don't care for that. They want the battle rifle as a starting weapon. Mm-hmm. But the thing with that is casuals or new people don't want like or because you would get destroyed. Like a good person with the battle rifle against a person with the assault rifle, and if you're good with it, the person with the battle rifle will just dominate you. So I think a lot of the decisions, and this is understandable, a lot of decisions that they've made, 343 has made, is clearly geared towards new players, and someone who might be a casual Halo player. Like assault rifle starts for stuff, and we'll need to see if they have playlists later on with the BR. The personal AI, which I think is a great touch. I think they can make a ton of money with the personal AI. You can have Sergeant Johnson or Cortana, pointing out hey, weapons are about to respawn, power weapons, and they're you can see where they're on the map, and there's a timer, so when they're going to spawn, because that wasn't the case. So they've made a lot of casual friendly things here, right? You can make the argument that removing thrusters is very casual friendly, as more skilled players could get out of the way of getting killed by using thrusters. So a lot of decisions are hey, we're going to have this free-to-play audience, A lot of people are going to be trying out Halo for the first time in years, and we can't have it like super hardcore because those really good players would just dominate the casuals and then they would leave. So they've kind of done some things here to make it more casual friendly, which is understandable. I get it. And I think a lot of Halo fans will be okay with that as long as there's like a competitive playlist or a ranked playlist with all these different things. And they'll just play in there, right?
Let's. I want to know your opinion, and also chat too. Chat. I want your opinion on this. Halo announced yesterday that their esports will be mixed inputs esports. So controller players playing against keyboard and mouse players. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about competitive having like a mixed input format? Because that's what Fortnite does. And I think that's what Call of Duty Warzone does. And more games are doing this now. Is that actually fair or not? What do you think?
I mean, I think a lot. I was reading a couple threads about it, and I think the competitive people aren't very happy with that decision at all. Does it affect me? No, because I'm not going to play Halo competitively. So I don't really know. I mean, we have a couple people in chat saying it's okay. We have T3 saying it's a terrible idea. We got Klaus saying that's not good. People saying no. Some people saying it's fine. I guess you'd have to do what's good for the competitive scene. If like I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't care because I'm not gonna be playing competitively. Now I will say with crossplay being a thing is I personally don't want to play against people on PC. If I'm playing on console, I want to play against other people on console. Now, if they're on PC using a controller, that's fine. So personally, I don't want to be playing against anybody that's using keyboard and mouse when I play Halo.
Because I've seen sentiments from the PC community where they're saying like, I don't want to play against console players because they have aim assist.
Yeah, but the thing with this is people have tested it. The magnetism and the aim assist in this game is low. It is incredibly low, and I've noticed that you have to be on with your shots. There's not a lot of aim assist. There's not a lot of bullet magnetism. And maybe that's because of how they're doing the mixed inputs, where there isn't maybe a huge advantage of someone on a controller versus someone on a keyboard and mouse, where, you know, the aim assist is strong, you're just like, and the bullets just kind of go towards their head. But yeah, people have tested it out in the beta, and it's definitely way lower compared to 5. So I just don't like playing against. I just don't like I guess it's more like the idea, because how would you really know of, you know, playing against, I'm on controller and they're on keyboard and mouse, and I think keyboard and mouse gives is an advantage over someone playing on with the controller personally. And you know, I pay for Xbox Live. We all pay for Xbox Live. I feel like I should be able to like opt out of crossplay and not have to deal with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, like, because that's always the discussion, right? Is that the people on PC don't have to pay for Xbox Live, and the people who play on the console do. And it's like, well, if I'm paying for this, then I should give me the options to just never have it so I play against a PC gamer. Like, I'm paying for it. You know, they're the freeloaders, as one would say, right? So, oh man, I'm watching the clip here. The gravity hammer is so impactful. It's like you can feel it when you slam it down on the ground. But the grapple shot's gonna take some time to get used to, because it was like, okay, how far away can you grapple people or the ceiling and stuff like that? So yeah, God, Halo, it's gonna be so good if this game actually. And I do think it's launching this year. I'm gonna be putting so much time into this, and hopefully, you know, they have a lot of modes and they have a lot of maps and there's a lot of content coming post-launch and stuff.
Will you play it over Battlefield?
Probably. If I had to choose, I'd play Halo over Battlefield. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, Halo. I mean, after you know, Halo, Battlefield is my next favorite multiplayer franchise. And I mean, that does come out in October. So I think Halo's going to launch end of November. So I'll have a good month of, Battlefield 2042. Probably be like, all right, I've seen enough of it until there's new content. Maybe a Battle Royale mode. And, it's time to play some Halo. But another thing that happened, Jez, was leaks of stuff. Campaign stuff.
Oh yeah, the Halo leaks. Yeah, it's kind of lame, but it's totally 343's fault. Like you release a build on PC to the public and expect it to not get torn apart. That's just naive, super naive. So the blame for that falls entirely on 343, I feel, because we live in an age of trolls and stuff like that. So what do they expect? Oh well.
Yeah, I wonder how hard it is to remove that code from the game. You know what I mean? But of course, people were going to data mine this. They data mine everything. So I'm not. Yeah. So maybe it's shocking they left all that stuff in there, but it's disappointing. I haven't read any spoilers because I don't want to be spoiled on it, and hopefully everybody don't be a dick about it. Fun Speculation says, do you think they did this on purpose to get feedback on the story? No, because there's no way the story's changing. All that stuff, all those things are all shot and done, cutscenes. There's no way they can change the story. So I don't think they did it to get feedback on it. Personally, what do you think, Jez?
Yeah, there's no way they did that. If they wanted, they've got other ways to get feedback. They've got massive internal programs. Their influencers have been playing Halo since January. So
people have playing Halo longer than that, 2 to 3 years. Yeah. So they spend a ton of money on testing, focus testing, and gauging reactions and stuff like that. They also pay people to do fake reviews, test reviews and stuff. So they can get an idea what a reviewer might say about a game based on test reviews. So nah, that's just a conspiracy. But it does make me wonder, Rand, because sometimes movies, what they'll do is they'll film 3 or 4 separate endings, and then not tell anyone which is the true ending. And maybe that's just ridiculous amount of extra work for a video game. But I don't know. Oh well, spoilers are what it is. Yeah, it kind of sucks, and I'm gonna have to dodge spoilers for the next 4 months potentially, or longer if it doesn't come out this year. But just watching the footage of the game being played, it's man, I kind of want to get on and play some more Halo. Maybe me and Jez should team up. Now that you're becoming a Halo fan, a bona fide Halo fan,
I'll try, man. I'll try. I do want to. I do like the big team modes. I always play the bigger modes in Battlefield and Call of Duty. If I ever do play Call of Duty, which I don't really anymore, but back in the day, Ground War was my go-to gameplay mode. Is Warzone coming back for this? I really don't know that much about what's going on in Halo Infinite.
But
they're doing Warzone again, or Big Team Battle, or something like that, or is there?
I don't think Warzone's coming back. Big Team Battle's going to be there, and they're going to have the 4v4 arena stuff, and who knows if there's any more modes like a battle royale in the future or whatever. But yeah, I'm pretty sure there's no Warzone. So
fair enough.
So yeah. With that said, let's get to some of these topics. Paris says he wants you to play with them, Jez.
I will definitely endeavor to do such things. I really do want to play more multiplayer games. I never really play multiplayer games with anyone. I've been playing Final Fantasy 14 with PMS Jordan on Twitter and her lovely guild over on the Lamia server in America. But otherwise, I just don't really play many multiplayer games. But hopefully, Rand, we can jump on and play some Halo sometime.
Yeah.
Maybe you should just move to England so we can have synchronized.
Well, we haven't really played that many games together because you're on when I'm not on, but we did play the Ascent co-op together.
Yeah, well, for about 10
for
minutes.
for about I don't know. It was about like 30 minutes or whatever. But
And that was only because my sleep cycle screwed up, and I was up at like 3 a.m.
yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about I guess sort of salesy figures about, and this is only important because it destroys people's narratives about Xbox. It's bigger than ever, Jez. I don't know. I know Windows Central Gaming has written articles about it, right? Series X and S is the fastest selling Xboxes ever when you line them up faster than Xbox One and the 360. How do you feel about that? Is that impressive to you?
I mean, on the one hand, it's impressive. On the other hand, it's kind of like, I wonder, like, because we have to take things into, and I'm not being negative for the sake of it, but I'm just sort of like, just to be contrarian, for the sake of discussion. I do wonder like how that lines up in regards to the growth of the industry, because you have to remember the gaming industry as in general is bigger than the 360 era. So like, is it really that impressive? Like, you would need to like measure it against some of the metrics and stuff like that, I guess. But it's definitely not a negative thing. Like, nobody can argue that the Xbox Series S and Series X are a flop, which is like, what a lot of people would love to have the opportunity to do. They'd love to say the Xbox Series X is a flop. They'd love to say the Series S is a flop. I saw like there was a bunch of controversy last week because that chap from Digital Foundry, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head,
John Lumen, I believe his name.
Yeah, he tweeted out something about, in Germany the Series Series S is in stock everywhere, implying that nobody wants them, stuff like that. And a lot of fanboys took that and they ran with it like, Series S isn't selling, blah 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 blah, stuff like that. The fact of the matter is, Microsoft made the Series S because it's easier to get the silicon for it, and it's a lot easier to get the silicon for the Series X, and it was a lot easier to get the Series silicon for the One X, the One, and the PS4. And I don't think there was ever a situation during the PS4 era like we're having now where you couldn't walk into a shop and you couldn't get a PS4. There was never a situation like that. So I don't know. It's sort of like, I thought that was like, not a very useful tweet to have made, and it, a lot of people jumped on it and ran with it and stuff like that. Oh well, whatever. It just shows it's great that they're doing well. It's good for the industry that we have competition, and it's good for people who want to get sort of next gen experience without next gen prices, I guess. Because like I have been playing on the Series S, and I do have the means to get a Series X, and as I said, I have ordered one because I do have a 4K TV, and I feel like I'm wasting it by not having 4K resolution. So I do want to get the Series X. But for people who've got like young kids, and or they just want a Game Pass machine, or maybe PS5 is their main machine, but they want to get Game Pass as well to experience exclusives there, the Series X is a great option. And that's what it's about. It's about options. It's about game. xCloud's not going to replace consoles. It's just going to be an option. Series S is not going to replace the high end. It's just going to be an option. Series X is just going to be an option too, and PC gaming is an option as well. That's where Microsoft sees this going. They see it as going across every device that people want, no matter where they are, how they want to play. They just want to give people access, and I think having multiple SKUs is the way to go. And it's good to see that it's done pretty well.
So your contrarian take is basically that. What was your
my contrarian take is, without hard sales figures,
Mm.
this information is not as useful as it seems, because relative to the industry as a whole, saying that it's the fastest selling Xbox ever could just be the same as saying, well, it's the fastest selling Xbox by this metric. Is that relative to the size of the current industry? Stuff like that.
Right.
It sounds great, but is it really that great? Without hard sales figures, I think like we can only infer so much from this. But it's not a negative news.
We did have Z Huge give estimate $6.5 million for a Series S, X and S, to $5.7 for Xbox One and 5 million for the 360 in the same time frame.
What's the PS5's at 10 million, right?
Yeah, which is better than what the PS4 did at the same time frame. Yeah, and obviously the Switch is, destroying everything, right? Or destroying whatever the Wii did.
But the Switch is 25 frames per second, so we don't count that.
You've really done a 180 recently, going hating Halo to loving Nintendo, and now hating Nintendo. Yeah, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
My thing with Nintendo was always like loving Pokemon. I never had nostalgia for Zelda or Mario. It was always nostalgia for Pokemon, and they kind of they've stopped making good Pokemon games. So now I have no reason to like Nintendo at all. And I'm just super unimpressed with the way they do their business practices and the way they treat their customers. And also, I'm really unimpressed with their lack of cloud saves and their lack of servers and, treating the Smash Bros. Community like garbage. And it just doesn't feel good to be a Nintendo fan, man. But it feels good to be an Xbox fan. Because Microsoft deliver.
I'm loving you right now. It's almost like you're an extension of myself right now at this very point. Like how far you've come. Halo is great, and Nintendo you don't care about anymore. Like I feel so connected to you in a way that I never have been.
Well, does that mean you can try mayo on fries now to thank me?
Possibly. Like that's how good I'm feeling right now. Like you know how long I've wished for this day? 4 years we've been doing this show together, 180 some odd episodes. And to hear you be like, hey, Halo's actually pretty good. I can't wait to play it. And it might be huge for Xbox and all this stuff. And I'm excited. And then in the same show be like, I don't care about Nintendo anymore. Who cares about Nintendo? They got nothing. And I just, this would have been unthinkable, a year ago.
Part of it's just salt that my Nintendo Switch battery is flat. And if I want to replace the battery on my Nintendo Switch, I have to buy a whole new Nintendo Switch. And I'm just like, no, I'm not. I don't want to buy a whole new Nintendo Switch. I'm done with it, man. I'm done with it. Like everything they do just feels half baked to me. I don't know, but you have to shout out Nintendo's ingenuity. Like even though the Switch is like a 25 frames per second machine with 1 hour battery life, it's really cool form factor. Like they really nailed that stuff. So
I think because when I did a video about this, when I was thinking about like, okay, you're right, like Microsoft saying they're the fastest selling ever with no numbers is a little bit, well, it could be 10 units more or whatever, but with the estimates we do have, it's doing a lot better. I think it's goes to show, because you have to like kind of, for context, right? You have the Xbox One that was at 5.7 million. And that was coming off a generation that everybody loved, right? The Xbox 360. Best Xbox gen, a lot of people would say. And a lot of people were, even though, the whole DRM stuff, a lot of people did buy the Xbox One in this, November and December when it launched. People just forget that as soon as January hit, nobody wanted the system because it had Kinect. It was $100 more expensive. PS4 was, more powerful, right? And Don Matrick left or got fired, and Phil took over in April and pulled the Kinect and dropped the system to $400. So you knew within the first 6 months that the Xbox One wasn't doing what Microsoft thought. And they were coming off of the best gen they ever had. And you look at like the PlayStation, they just announced 10 million, which is great. You'd love to see the industry thrive. They're doing better than ever, right? And they're coming off a PS4 generation, right? People love the PS4. People love the exclusives that Sony put out. And now there's this kind of like, because of that, people are diving into the PlayStation 5 quicker. And I think a similar thing happened with the Xbox One and the 360 of the Xbox One that is happening right now with the PS4 to PS5. It's just that, after that initial push for the Xbox One, it was just like nobody wanted the system. So now you have the Xbox Series X and S. And this is coming off the heels of a generation where everybody laughed at the Xbox, It's been memed to death. Xbox has no games. I mean, even today, even right now, you still have people memeing Xbox has no games, right? So they're coming off a horrible generation, and now the system is selling way better than the Xbox One at that time frame. So I think it speaks to people's hope for the future, or people like seeing what Microsoft is doing with Game Pass and all their studio acquisitions, and they're like, I'm in. So I think
honestly, I really do believe that E3 was a big turning point. Seeing Starfield announced as exclusive really slammed it home to people. Damn, if I'm like a big Bethesda guy, and Bethesda has a fan base of its own, people who are hardcore Elder Scrolls players, people who are hardcore Doom fans, QuakeCon, and all that sort of stuff. People are starting to realize, man, if I want to experience these games and I don't have an inclination to get a gaming PC, then I'm basically gonna have to at least consider the Xbox ecosystem right now. And I think like that effect is, we're gonna see more and more of that. As more and more Bethesda games get announced, as we start seeing like Elder Scrolls and whatever start coming down the pipeline, I think like you're gonna see more and more of this personally.
Right. But then also, like, you got to factor in, like, Xbox hasn't had an exclusive, I mean, this whole time, really. I mean, they launched the Series X with Gears Tactics, and they haven't put out anything since. So when you compare it to, like, hey, Rise, Son of Rome, and Dead Rising 3, and Killer Instinct, and Crimson Dragon, and Power Star Golf, and all the other games that launched really soon after launch. Yeah, it was an exclusive. And I'm just saying, like, when you compare the launch lineups, Xbox One had a bunch of exclusives, and the Xbox Series X had none, essentially. It's sort of impressive to me to see the systems be in such demand, right? Series X sells out instantly pretty much everywhere. The Series S is in stock. Like, you can go to Best Buy and it's on the website. So not only selling as many as they can make, but then selling more when they just experienced a generation where they were a joke. Like, people were making fun of Xbox the whole thing. So I think it basically comes down to Game Pass and what they've shown as, okay, people are excited. I think this shows that people are just really excited about what Xbox is doing. And it's awesome because normally every sort of console generation, somebody screws up really badly. Whether it's Nintendo, PlayStation, or Xbox, it just happens this time that nobody screwed up.
Stadia.
Well, who cares about Stadia? Who cares, right?
Oh man.
So I mean, that's that.
Yeah, nobody really screwed up, and you're right, and that's a good thing ultimately.
Yeah. They also had their some Satya Nadella talked a little bit about some of the things, and they gave their numbers for the year, and it was like 15.3 billion, which was their best year ever. Way better than any other year, considerably. So they're growing. But there was also this quote, Jez, that I wanted to bring up, that Microsoft put in their 10K for investors. And I'm going to read it here. And it says that they basically say, they talk about their gaming platform and blah, 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 blah. And they go on to say, our exclusive game content is created through Xbox Game Studios, a collection of first-party studios creating iconic and differentiated gaming experiences. And we continue to invest in new gaming studios and content to expand our IP roadmap and leverage new content creators. And these unique gaming experiences are the cornerstone of Xbox Game Pass. Now, last year, in the same sort of 10K that they gave to investors, right? They basically said the same exact thing about continuing to invest in new game studios and content, right? And then a couple months later, they bought Bethesda. And you have Satya continuing to tell investors that they're all in on gaming, right? I think basically he's telling investors that they're going to spend money on Xbox and to be prepared for that, and that he sees Xbox as a potential revenue driver 5 years from now. So now you have this statement, which is very similar to a statement right before the Bethesda acquisition, And I get this question all the time. Is it still acquisition season, Jez?
I would expect it is, man. Like, I mean, they're always looking. I think like Bethesda was a special case because the culture lined up, everything about Bethesda lined up absolutely perfectly. I think a lot of the studios that are left are kind of more complicated. They're either publicly traded companies, which means you have to get all shareholders on board. They're also like, companies like we always talk about Microsoft should buy like a Japanese studio, but there's a huge amount of red tape, that potential there that makes that a problem. And also like, having a strong base in Japan is something Microsoft doesn't really have, let's be honest. But if they did buy a big publisher like Capcom or Bandai Namco and stuff like that, that could certainly help change their fortunes there. But I don't think they're clearly not slowing down. They've mentioned acquisitions every single time they've spoke to analysts, every single time they've spoke to press, every single time they've spoke to their investors, and that's basically to say like, expect us to spend a lot of money in the very, very near future. They just announced LinkedIn just hit $10 billion as well. So like, investors are very happy with Microsoft's gains. Like, Microsoft's share price is constantly going up. They're paying huge amounts in dividends every year. So I think like, as long as investors are happy with what Microsoft are doing and feel like, yeah, this is like the right way to go when it comes to investments. And ultimately, like, we've talked about this before, like $7 billion for Microsoft's nothing. It really is nothing. They find that down the back of a sofa in Phil's office. But it's not just money. It has to line up legally, culturally, and also the US is pursuing these antitrust investigations into big tech at the moment because they're worried about consolidation. There's even rumors like Facebook might be forced to sell Instagram, for example. I know it's not really the same sort of scenario, but there is also that political angle to consider potentially, maybe. Shouldn't affect Xbox because there's no universe in which you can say Xbox has a monopoly. Especially when you look at mobile, when you look at Tencent, when you look at like some of these other big companies too, these big publishers. Microsoft has almost no presence on mobile except for Minecraft. Like they have no like, they're not like King or like Tencent when it comes to mobile. So no one could argue they've got a monopoly there. But there is a lens on big tech right now. But I don't know. Who would you like? No, chat. Let's put this hypothetical out there again. Chat and Rand, who would you like to see them buy that's at least realistic? Actually, everything's probably realistic at this point.
Everything's
who would
probably...
you like to see them buy?
IO Interactive I think would be great. Not because like they're already working with them, but because I think they're an incredible developer. I know everybody has their picks, Capcom, Sega's, Bungie's, or whatever. But I don't know, Asobo, what they're doing. I mean, everybody's gonna have their own, like, I want them to buy this or this or this. Warner Brothers, Capcom, NetherRealm, and all this stuff. So I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of different studios they would say. I only bring this up because I think it's like they constantly mention it, like you said, every single time. You got Matt Booty talking about it. You got Phil talking about it. You got Satya talking about it. And it's in this official thing from Microsoft about investing in new game studios and content IP. Now, they could be referring to the studios that they already own. Who really knows? Because they are investing. Like, they have a lot of job openings and stuff like that. But I think they do realize they need more. And I think they want to get more.
More.
They just need more, man. And I think it'll happen. I don't know when it'll happen. I don't know if it'll be this year. I don't know if it'll be next year. But clearly...
I think I'm going to make a prediction right now.
Okay, you make it.
I think Microsoft might buy a big mobile publisher soon.
A mobile publisher? Now, that's interesting. That would go a long way for their 3 billion gamers. And I've always wondered, with their goal of 3 billion, you would think you would need a mobile studio. I know they have one in Alpha Dog, but like a bigger one. You know, we saw EA buy one from Warner Brothers. Activision bought what did they buy? King a few years back for like a bunch.
Yeah.
You would think at some point you'd have to enter the mobile space a little bit more forcefully, but that's not going to excite people in our chat. They don't want to hear Microsoft buy a mobile publisher or mobile studios. They want, AAA studios, or they want, take a look at the Ascent. I think there's potential there for the studio. Could Microsoft come in and buy Neon Giant and help them with the game they're making next, or the people who made that store? There's a lot of great indie devs out there who would love the security and the money that the tech that someone like Microsoft could provide. You know what I mean?
I think there's two reasons why I say mobile. Mobile, A, because of the whole free billing games thing. Like, if Microsoft is serious about hitting that milestone, they need to sort of look at games that appeal to a casual audience. And also because mobile games just work better on xCloud. Like that Monster Train, it's more fun to play on xCloud because it's almost like a mobile game with the Xbox controller. Like the gameplay loop's really brief, so you can jump on for literally 5 or 10 minutes and have quite a lot of fun and do a lot of stuff in a short amount of time. And also it works really well with touch, and it's paced well because of mobile and all that sort of stuff. But crucially, it doesn't have any of those annoying mechanics that really annoy me, like pay to win, time gating, and all that kind of stuff, because it's on Xbox Game Pass. So I think there's an opportunity there to make good mobile games that are funded with Xbox Game Pass rather than pay to win bullcrap that makes me not want to get into the industry or get into that mode of gaming at all. And I know a lot of people here don't care about mobile games. I'm not someone who plays a lot of mobile games either, but I do see when I play Monster Train and Slay the Spire on Game Pass on my phone, I do see the huge potential there to help Game Pass these figures. And if they help Game Pass on mobile, that increases the likelihood that those people will convert to console too. Because if they're oh well, instead of getting the pay to win free version, I could get the Game Pass version and have a better experience. And then well, if I'm paying for Game Pass on my phone, I might as well get an Xbox Series S anyway. And then maybe you convert them into console gamers too. So there's that angle as well that I think is potentially something to explore. But I don't know.
I actually kind of agree with you. I kind of agree with you that I think they're looking at mobile studios, but that's not going to excite me or you, and that's not going to excite anybody in this chat. But I think financially and for their goals, I think it makes an absolutely ton of sense for them to do. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. I fully expect them to buy. Inflation's coming, so they have a ton of money, and it's just kind of losing its value sitting in the bank account. So it's you might as well just purchase something and let it make more money for you down the road. Yeah. So I think it's coming.
Capcom.
Yeah. I mean,
I tell you, I want them to buy now. I want them to buy Square Enix now.
You would Square Enix. Yeah, buy Square Enix. Buy them. One of the things we didn't get out of this financial call was Game Pass numbers. Yes. Some people thought we would. It was, the end of their fiscal year. Maybe we get an update. We haven't gotten an update since December of last year when they hit 18 million. And we got Jeff Grubb basically implying that the reason we didn't get an update is because of you and what you had said. So elaborate. What's going on, Jez?
Yeah, so, I mean, it's mean that it's because of me, because originally it was Special Nick who tweeted that. Special Nick tweeted that Xbox Game Pass had hit 22 million subs. And then I followed it up with, actually, it's 23 million now. And that's because I had a Game Pass document that Microsoft shared with its analysts that described a bunch of figures about Game Pass. And there was a big banner in this slide that said, Xbox Game Pass now has 23 million friends in big letters. And I was like, oh, wow, it's hit 23 million subs. But I didn't read it properly, and what it meant was Xbox Game Pass has created 23 million new friend connections. So when they were talking about friends, I put didn't read it properly, and I put 2 and 2 together and made 5. And then when Nick tweeted 22 million, it just sort of like misfired that synapses, and it was like that synapse, and I was like, does this mean, is that 23 million talking about Game Pass subs? So and I did tweet out in April. Not a lot of people saw it, but I did link it on Twitter. I did tweet out in April that the 23 million figure was wrong, but a bunch of websites still carried on sourcing me as 23 million, even though I did tweet out that it was wrong. So yeah. So if you take Special Nick's figure at 22 million as accurate, maybe it's above 22 million, but I personally don't think it is. I don't think it was right. I think maybe it was an overestimation or whatever, and that 22 million was probably wrong. Maybe it's 22 million now, but I don't think it was back then. I think that was wrong. So if Microsoft didn't share them now, it's because they feel like some people would take that as being a decreased number, or maybe they were doing it as a favor to the journalists and the writers who said that it was higher, like me and Nick.
I don't think they didn't announce it in a financial thing because they wanted to do you a solid, Jez.
Yeah, well, but either way, but I don't know why they would not announce it if it was like higher than what Nick said. So I think like
because it probably hasn't hit 25 million yet. And
yeah,
and when you look at it,
when it hits 25 million, I think that's when they'll announce it. Maybe.
I bet you there was a little bit slow. Like when you look at what Game Pass was at last year, April of last year, it was at 10 million, and then all of a sudden December it was at 18. It started to blow up, right? And everybody assumed like, well, it's going to average 1 million a month, and then by June it'll be at 25 or whatever, and at the end of the year it'll be over 30. And King Doovie says 1,000 in chat. Make sure you smack that like button. Yeah. Thank you guys for being here on Saturday. I know there's not too much to talk about super interesting outside of Halo, which is always interesting, but we appreciate you being here. And hit that like button if you're enjoying the show. I will say that, when you look at Game Pass's lineup at the beginning of the year, it wasn't that strong. And I know people will be like, well, wait a minute, Outriders MLB The Show. But those were, Outriders and MLB The Show came out pretty much really close to each other. And the only other big games, they didn't really have any other big games. They had all the Bethesda stuff in March because the acquisition fully closed. And then they had the Outriders MLB stuff in April. But it was, for most of the beginning of the year, it was kind of light. Now, right now, from now until the end of the year, it's just nonstop. We already, Microsoft Flight Sim and the Ascent this weekend, Omno, which I'm going to play because I hear some good things about it. We got Hades and Psychonauts 2 and 12 Minutes coming up in August, among some other games. You have Back 4 Blood coming in October. You have Halo eventually launching. You have Forza Horizon 5 in November, right? Like, the Game Pass lineup is a lot stronger for the back half of this year than it was at the beginning of this year. So I think there was some slowdown from what they were experiencing. So
I think the pandemic was also a factor as well.
Yeah, I mean, Paris in chat says it makes sense for them to hold announcing sub numbers until the end of the year. And he expects a big influx of Game Pass subs this holiday for Forza and Halo. And I completely agree with them. I think Microsoft is looking for those milestones, 25 million, 30 million. Like, maybe they don't even announce 25. Maybe they just wait for the end of the year and they can announce Halo Infinite is launched and we hit 30 million of our, subscription service, which would really be big. But it's just funny that, you see, look what you do, Jez. You say Xbox, you say you have a document about NetherRealm and Traveler's Tale being for sale, and then 2 days later, basically Warner Brothers comes out and says, nah, that's not true. And then you say Game Pass has 23 million subs, and because of that, Microsoft won't even tell us the numbers. You have amazing power that you hold, Jez, that you don't even realize sometimes.
Yeah, well, it's leaking stuff isn't exactly a great exact science, is it?
Look, you just
people don't remember the people don't remember the like the million accurate leaks. They remember the couple of mistakes, you know. But oh well, what you gonna do?
I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying you hold some power. People listen, you know, and then when people, you know, report on it's like the Xbox 2's Jez Corden. I mean, I'm just chopped liver, Randall Nobody in the corner. So yeah, so that's you know, Xbox doing better than ever, being, you know, bigger than ever. I think it's great. And then, you know, the industry is doing well. PlayStation seems to be doing bigger than ever, but there is some PlayStation stuff that I figured we had to talk about. Did you see the SSD situation?
I did see some things about it. Like, I think we've made fun of the PlayStation at the expense of the lack of SSD, but it's finally here. You can now use the M2 drive and the M2 slot to expand the PlayStation storage. But
well, it's in beta.
It's
in beta.
I did see some stuff on Twitter about it, but I don't know what the controversy was too much because I was playing Final Fantasy 14 the whole time. So, Rand, you'll have to regale us with the tale of the SSD and let us all know what the hell's going on.
You know, honestly, I don't even really care about the PS5 SSD stuff. I'm never going to use one. I only use the PS5 for exclusives, so I don't need to have many games installed. It was just more of this thing of like Sony coming out and being like, you have to determine for yourself which third parties work with it, right? And some of them may have, you know, I don't even know what they're called, heat sinks. Some may not. And if you do buy one, it may not work as good as the internal one. So there may be like, you know, performance issues. And if something happens, we're not responsible. It was all these disclaimers. And then it was just like, you look at Xbox and it's just like, you just plug it in. You just plug it into the back of the console. And it just brings up the discussion that people had at the beginning of the gen that gave Microsoft so much crap for having this super expensive SSD that you plugged it back in, right? And people were like, well, Sony's going to have the better solution because they're going to let you stick your own in, right? They're going to do it better. And then it comes out that, hey, it's not really better. It's sure you can buy from different manufacturers, but they're essentially the same price. I think the PS5 ones are maybe a little bit more expensive at 1 terabyte at $275 or whatever. And yeah, you can get a 500 gigabyte one instead of a 1 terabyte and spend less. And you can go all the way up to 4 terabytes if you want one, but that's like $1,000.
$1,000?
Yeah, like the 4 terabyte one's like $1,000, and like 1 terabyte's $275, and 2 terabytes is like, I don't know, $500 or something.
Yeah, I have a NVMe drive in my laptop that I installed. I think it was $175-ish. It's only 500 meg, just for like Steam games. I stick on there, and I also use it for storing capture card footage. You know, they do generate heat. You know, so there are sort of like there's going to be limitations on how much on which types are the best for PlayStation, because obviously consoles they're designed to be super optimized around everything with regards to heat generation, performance, and all that sort of stuff. So I do prefer the Xbox solution as someone who, you know, I don't when it comes to PC stuff, yeah, I expect to have to pull out a screwdriver. I expect to have to do research on what parts are going to be best for me and stuff like that. When it comes to console, the whole name of the game is simplicity, right? So I personally do prefer the memory card solution. And the thing is, Sony used to do this in the past. Do you remember like the old school memory cards of PlayStation 1 and 2? What was so bad about those?
Yeah.
They're pretty cool.
Well, I think
8 megabyte memory card back in the day. Oh man.
I don't know. I think it just reinforces that Xbox's solution was the better solution, the more elegant one. You know, like
we have to put batteries in though, Rand.
Oh yeah, we do got to put batteries in there, and people make fun of Xbox for that. But it's like I use envelopes, so like the charge lasts forever, and then it's like pop them out, pop it in, and I don't got to worry about it for a week. And then when I do play on my PlayStation, I feel like I got to plug in my DualSense every like 4 hours to charge. Like it loses
use,
its charge really, really quickly. You know what I mean? And I don't like playing being connected to a console. Like what's the whole point of a wireless controller if it has to be connected to the system every 5 hours you're playing. You know what I mean?
I use a PowerA charge dock, so I don't even have to swap the batteries out. I just stick the controller down when I'm done. When I come back tomorrow, it's charged up again. So, I prefer charge docks and stuff. Does PlayStation get charge docks like that?
I think that you can get a charge dock for the controllers, yes. I think so.
After using the Elite controller, like it's just so convenient having a charge dock. The Elite Series 2 charge dock is so good. Even though my Elite Series 2 is basically falling apart.
Yeah, my Elite Series 2 broke. So that's the thing with like the Elite stuff. It's like, man, if they do an Elite Series 3, that thing better. Like we said the same thing after the Elite 1. Like all the issues that one had. It's like, oh, the Elite 2 better be better, and the build quality really wasn't. It's still
the problem
broke.
is, right? Yeah. Honestly, the problem is that there's so many moving parts in a controller that like wear and tear is inevitable. But I feel like they should have at least a bit less wear and tear than a regular controller. Because right now, I don't think the quality is up to standard. Like the fact that the rubberized back on the triggers was held on by literally nothing, a wing and a prayer. Like that's not great for a $200 controller. So yeah, I honestly wonder, will they even bother doing a Series 3 after all this stuff?
Yeah,
I don't know.
How else are they going to do haptic feedbacks and resistance triggers?
Well, that's the thing, Rand. If you want developers to adopt them, those need to be standard.
Yeah, but if you want to do a new Elite controller, you're going to have some new features. What new feature that is better that you could put in there than haptic feedback and resistance triggers, and then sell that controller for $200? And have it sell out all over. And I get what you're saying, like developers would have to support it, but I'm just saying, do you think Xbox will have a tough time? I know this is kind of wasn't planned, but do you think that there would be enough changes that they could do to actually sell an Elite Series 3, considering 2 had like 60 changes?
It's problematic because like the number one improvement I want in Series 3 is build quality. But if they admit the build quality was bad, they make themselves liable. So how do you advertise that? How do you advertise that the build quality is better? When I was asking Xbox PR about the Series 2, and I was like, "Is the build quality better? Is the build quality better?" They were like, we've got new build quality stuff here and there, like that. It was so hard to get them to answer this because it would make them liable if they admitted that there were flaws in the controller, and there was flaws in the controller. Like I spoke to an engineer who worked on the on some of the Xbox stuff back in the day, and they were saying like they used the wrong rubber consistency for the Series 1. The rubber they used was designed for industrial purposes and not human purposes, and it had like some sort of bad reaction with the natural oils in some people's skin, or most people's skin, which caused it to warp over time, which is why they always fell off for a lot of people. Unless you were someone who cleans their hands like every couple of hours, like the rubber grips on that controller were never going to stay on because they used the wrong type of rubber. So but Microsoft can't admit that publicly because it makes them liable,
Yeah.
And they'd have to like recall them, or well, not recall them maybe, but like they'd have to do like refunds and stuff like that. And I know that the Series 1 refund rate was super high, and it actually caused, I heard that it actually sort of like a lot of people were just like, we shouldn't bother doing this number 2 because of how high the refund rate was on the Series 1. So that's why like the Series 2 was like so long coming after the Series 1. But
yeah, Lawrence in Super Chat says, hey, I have both the Pro Controller version 1 and 2, and they're both literally broken in different ways. Yeah, that sucks. Flame says, Xbox has the best exclusive, a CEO that cares. And that isn't really important. And Thank God
Yeah.
for Satya. Otherwise,
That is
who
rare as hell.
knows where Xbox would be. King Doovy says, Overwatch launched May 3rd, 2016 with Battleborn. So I guess it did launch the same day.
Ah, okay.
And Ryan Thomas says, Hey, Jez and Rand, just curious as to when do you think Halo will release? I've been loving the preview. I was fortunate enough to be in. I had a I had a conspiracy theory that it was going to launch in September, but clearly that's not the case. So I think it launches, if I had to guess, I know the 15th is the 20th anniversary, and that's like maybe when you should launch it. Something tells me Call of Duty is going to launch right around then, so I'm just going to say the 23rd of November, the week of Black Friday, and Microsoft will time that to also have a huge restock of Series X and S, and it's also the big shopping week, and that's potentially when the Series S can really do a lot of damage. When you go into the store, people want to buy something, Forza's out, Halo's out, all these games in Game Pass are out, COD's out, Battlefield's out, and, most likely the Series X will sell out immediately, the PS5 will sell out immediately, and then there'll be the Series S, and I think a lot of people potentially could choose that. So that's kind of what I think is when Halo's going to launch. I could be wrong, but I think that really depends on when COD launches. So, but back to the PS5 SSD stuff. So, are you going to actually put an SSD into your system, or are you like me where you play so little on the PS5 that you don't need to?
I don't have a PS5.
Oh, that's right. You don't own the PS5. Oh man, that's right.
I do not have a PS5, and I have no intention to buy one right now. So, not an issue for me, baby. Like I say, I've installed one in my laptop, but I don't. If I did have a PS5, I'd be like you. It'd be my exclusive machine, and I wouldn't really use it for much else. So I wouldn't really need it. But it's good that it's there for people who do have PlayStation as their main console, obviously. But it just goes to show how much better Xbox's solution was. Like, in my mind, there's literally no argument about this. So, yeah. I will say though that Microsoft really they do need some competition in that space, because it kind of sucks that there's only one brand of SSD we can get for the Series S and X right now, and they all are really, really expensive, hard to justify for a lot of people. I got one through work, so it's not like I had to pay for mine. Would I have bought one if I didn't get one through work? Probably not, honestly.
I bought one.
Yeah, I mean, well, you're a YouTube millionaire.
Yeah,
right?
I wish. Not anymore. Nobody. YouTube has kicked me to the curb. They don't care about me no more.
Well, I don't have YouTube millions with which to buy these things, so I'm a poor games journalist. Poor living paycheck to paycheck, so I couldn't fit that into my budget, I'm afraid. But at the same time, I don't mind downloading games and uninstalling games over and over again. I don't really mind doing it. And it's not like I play a huge amount of games at any one time. Like, for example, I'm going to uninstall Overwatch right now. I'm not playing that again for a while, if ever. I got a bunch of stuff installed that I probably don't have any intention to play. Like, I got Sea of Thieves installed. Probably not going to play that anytime soon. Uninstall that. And if I do feel like playing some other game, I'll just reinstall it later. So, I've got loads of indie games to play right now. I've got like Blood Roots on my hard drive. I've got Eldest Souls. Have you heard of that? Eldest Souls?
Mm-hmm. Yep, I've heard of that.
I got Blightbound. I want to try that out. I've got Ender Lilies. I want to try that. And Chris Tales. I want to try that. I've also been having a blast on Chivalry 2. I haven't played that for a little while, mainly because of addiction to your good old pal Final Fantasy 14. So, yeah. And I also want to try that Le Grand Legacy, which I talked about a while ago. And also Scarlet Nexus. I want to complete that as well. Scarlet Nexus, really interesting game. Have you played that much, if at all? It's probably not.
Not yet. Not yet. I want to. So I guess it's like really so I guess if you're in the market for a PS5 SSD, I would just wait to see what people say is the best and works with it. You know what I mean? I would wait to see what the common consensus is among the community. What works and what works best, and if there's any performance issues. I mean, I guess that's kind of like with the Xbox, you just know. You buy it, you plug it in, you know it's going to work. It has the same performance as the internal one, and it's just super simple. And it's like, with this one, it's just, I don't know, like it really points to like I think the PS5 being over designed.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't like the way it looks either.
like, oh, we got the stand that we need to screw on into stuff, and then we got this, and it's just like, it's more PC. Like the whole console experience is supposed to be just plug and play. Like here's the console, you hook a controller up to it, plug it into an outlet, and just go. Like this is now, and I know some of it's easy, but it's more and more like tinkering, like PC, which is just weird. Anyway, but the other big news. More delays, Jez. More delays. Surprise, surprise. Jason Schreier has delayed Horizon Forbidden West to 2022.
Wasn't that Jeff Grubb?
Well, Jeff Grubb said that he heard it was a possibility that Sony was thinking about it, but that it wasn't, decided yet. And Jason Schreier said no, it has been decided and delayed, which is not surprising whatsoever. Because we are in August and the game has no release date. So, like, when do you think it was supposed to come out? Now, I guess somebody would say the same thing, like, well, Halo doesn't have a release date or whatever, but they've been pretty upfront saying that, like, it's going to launch this year. I've been thinking for a while since March, and I've been told since March that Horizon was aiming for a November release, and they were trying their hardest to get it done, and if not, they were gonna basically be a February-March release. Does that open up the holiday in Xbox's favor now without Horizon Forbidden West looming there as a giant release for PlayStation? Now Xbox has Forza and Halo. I guess the question is, can Xbox take advantage of this and try to sell people on getting Xbox now rather than later when, PlayStation's going to have a strong 2022? So, like, yeah, they don't have Horizon for the holiday, which would have been huge, but they're going to have Horizon for the beginning of next year. There's a God of War coming sometime next year, I think towards the fall in September. They got Gran Turismo 7. So those 3 games that Sony said were 2021... and were, PS5 only, are now 2022 and all cross-gen, which is certainly an interesting change of fate when people were lambasting Xbox for cross-gen games, and then Sony ended up doing the same exact thing. So Sony delayed their 3 biggest games to 2022. But it's not just that. It's also like, Forspoken's going to be next year, supposedly, in Final Fantasy 16 and Ghostwire Tokyo. Do you think it's important for Microsoft to capitalize on Sony having a big hole in their holiday release schedule and try to get as many people to buy an Xbox now instead of waiting for next year when 2022 is going to look really, really good for PlayStation and Xbox doesn't have as much? They have Starfield, Redfall, and Forza Motorsport, but those are later in the year. Like Xbox's beginning of next year seems to be a little light. What do you think?
Yeah, I think take every opportunity they've got to capitalize. At least when it comes to mindshare, they've got a ton of opportunity to push Game Pass. Like Halo Infinite is free to play as well, so there's a huge opportunity to get the kids interested, getting them all on their Xbox Series S's and getting those sold up for Christmas. So I think there's a good opportunity there. I think Halo Infinite has to launch this year, come to think of it. Like that, they could go into the holiday season selling tons of Xbox Series S to kids who want to play Halo Infinite for free. Like if Microsoft markets it well and pushes it out to Twitch and generates tons of hype like they did with New World recently and what they did with Valorant in the past, I think there's like a big opportunity there that they can't afford to miss out on. So yeah, for me, I think they need to go balls to the wall pushing Halo this year and not wait till next year. But at the same time, it's like you say, the start of next year is light. But then again, the start of the new year is always light across the whole industry. People have run out of money. They're recovering from Christmas debt. Everything goes kind of quiet in January, February, March anyway. So I don't think that's a huge deal. That's January, February, March is generally a good time to launch a AA game like Outriders. Is it fair to call Outriders a AA game? Maybe like a new IP, a game that sort of like could benefit from a clear deck and not much competition. But yeah.
You mean the
Forza
AA
War-
game that's launching in January known as Elden Ring?
Well, it's not exclusive, is it?
No, it's true. It's true. That's not. It is not.
Are you gonna play Elden Ring?
Yeah, I'll probably play it.
Because you like Sekiro, but you're not a huge Dark Souls fan, right?
Yeah, so I need to see what it's more like. So I guess I don't know. Maybe Miles will play co-op with me or something.
Miles, you stealing Miles to play co-op Elden Ring?
I don't
Fair
know.
enough.
I don't know. It's just I do think there is a opportunity this holiday, especially if it's just because a lot of the third-party games are going to be co-op, co-marketed by Xbox. Back 4 Blood's Day 1 Game Pass, Battlefield 2042, Xbox is marketing, Far Cry 6. The new Call of Duty is still hiding. What if PlayStation decided they didn't? What if with all the Activision stuff going on, and it seems like there's more Activision stuff that comes out every single day. What if Activision, or what if Sony's just like doesn't want to touch the Call of Duty this year with the 10-foot pole, and they drop the marketing for it?
I don't think they would, because even though this whole thing's going on right now, nobody cares.
Oh, nobody cares. Okay.
Nobody cares. Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Overwatch, still on top of Twitch. Nobody really cares. Everyone's still playing them. The wider industry is probably not even aware of what's going on. I mean, wider consumer base, they don't care. They're just going to play COD regardless. So, does Sony care? Ultimately, is a question. And I think there's a point where it's just like most of the news of this fell on the Blizzard side. So maybe they're thinking like we can sort of get away with it because it was Blizzard and not necessarily Activision. Also, I don't know, there's an argument to be made that it ultimately by then they're expecting even less people to care when Call of Duty comes out. So no, I don't think they're gonna drop. I don't think they're gonna drop Call of Duty.
Well, it was just a question, like if they did, and Xbox has all these marketings for all these bigger games, plus Forza and Halo, and Horizon was next year. Xbox could potentially dominate the the ads, the airwaves with stuff, and really inundate people on Xbox marketing. But you're probably right. They're probably like, whatever, nobody cares. It's still Call of Duty, and you're right. It's more the Blizzard side than the Activision side, so we'll still do it. But it just goes to show you, man, like the industry was hit hard by COVID. I know there was that talk at the beginning, like, oh, Sony was immune. Like, oh, well, Xbox is just using it as an excuse to delay their games, like Halo Infinite and some of the others. And because PlayStation was able to get out Miles and some of the launch titles like Demon's Souls and Ratchet and Returnal, that somehow like they were immune, but then they ended up delaying a whole bunch of 3 of their biggest games to next year. It is what it is. And yeah, it makes the holiday not like, sucks to lose Horizon for this holiday, but then next year looks pretty strong now. But also people will be like, well, Jim lied. Nobody thought God of War would actually come out in 2021 when they said it would, right? Like, I didn't. I remember watching that Sony presentation and like, God of War 2021, and we were all like, nope, there's no way that game's coming out this year or next year. Like, you are just doing that to hype up the console, and we all know that game's 2022. So what are you trying to do here? You should have just not dated it. But they had to do what they had to do. I wish more people would, call them out on some of that stuff. Like, there was zero chance God of War was coming out in 2021. Like, zero. So, what else here? Jez, did you? I know you saw this because you made some tweets about it. What do you think about Sean Layden saying that something like Game Pass needs 500 million subscribers to work?
Yeah, it just sort of irritated me because I know he doesn't believe that. He has to know, looking at like the way Fortnite sells microtransactions and stuff, that the business it's not just about like Xbox Game Pass doesn't replace retail. It doesn't replace the upsell. It doesn't replace the merchandise. It doesn't replace the microtransactions. Like for example, with Xbox Game Pass, you only get Minecraft Dungeons base game. You still have to buy all those extra maps, and extra levels. You have to buy them on top, and people will buy them if they like Minecraft Dungeons. They're going to buy all that extra stuff. So it helps sell that stuff. So maybe what he meant was it doesn't work for us because our games have no upsell, they have no microtransactions, they have no service component. So maybe he meant it doesn't work purely for their exclusives, and maybe that's right. And I've certainly heard from developers who make single player games that Game Pass actually reduced their single player game sales while it was in the service.
Wait, reduced or increased?
Reduced.
Okay.
I've been told by some developers of smaller single player games, a couple, that while their game was in Game Pass, it actually reduced their sales. However, I've heard the opposite of a multiplayer game. So like when it comes to a multiplayer game, it might increase the sales because you want to play with your friend, but you don't necessarily want to subscribe to Game Pass. So I think like maybe there is some potential that there is some truth in what Layden said, that when it comes to single player games that don't have microtransactions, that don't have an upsell component, that don't have DLC, because a lot of those Sony games don't have DLC either, maybe you could make that point. But I think for games like Minecraft Dungeons, which do have DLC and do have multiplayer, then I don't think Game Pass needs 500 million subscribers. But
you don't think they need to make $5 billion?
No, I don't think so.
every month, or 15 billion every quarter to make it work?
I mean, look at Microsoft financials. They literally call out Xbox Game Pass as a reason for their growth in service revenue, right? So whatever. Alas.
So why do you think he said that? Was it just I
think he said it because I asked him in an interview.
Yeah, but why do napkin math and say 500 million? Like everybody like you could easily have more said, "Oh, you would need 100 million to do it." Like 500 million is just everybody knows like that's not true. Right? You don't need that much. So like why exaggerate it? But then again, like I would have to hear. Maybe he was like kind of joking when he said it. Context matters in that case. Like I think if you probably hit 50 million subscribers, you're probably good. It probably pays for everything. If you're getting $1 billion every 2 months, right? Because that'd be 50 million subs, 500 million. So yeah, $1 billion every other month. Like I would think that. So that'd be $6 billion a year. I think you could easily pay for everything, whether they're single player games that are losing sales or whatever, or like all that stuff. Like I think that's the number they're probably looking for. Would they want more? I mean, I don't know. Even Netflix doesn't have that many. Netflix has what? 200 million subscribers? So I think the idea that you need 500 million is absurd. It's probably more in like the 40 to 50 million range. But I mean, Phil said right now the economics work and Game Pass is profitable and stuff, but nobody believes them, right?
Yeah, it works for Microsoft because they have those games that have an upsell. They have Sea of Thieves, which you can buy like pets for. They have like Fallout 76 in there, which you can buy like repair kits for, and a bunch of other cosmetics. They have Minecraft Dungeons where you can buy levels and stuff. So I think it does work for Microsoft with a lower subscriber base because they do have loads of games in there which sell microtransactions, both from first and third party. And like the economics do work for single player games too, because Microsoft pays them a lot of money, and they also pay them royalty bonuses. If they, or at least on some games, like every contract might be different, but I've been told that Microsoft will pay you extra money for milestones. Like if your game performs really well in Xbox Game Pass, they'll pay you a bonus on top of the lump sum they already pay you up front. So like, I think like for some games, it has this sort of retail halo effect too, especially multiplayer. Maybe not so much for single player, which Sony focuses on, but for Microsoft, because they have such a variety of business models within Game Pass, I think it works without having 500 million subscribers. I mean, everyone knows that. So if it didn't work by this point, I think they would start winding it down. But they clearly have the math there to back up what they're doing, and everyone at Microsoft agrees. So, like even Bing is profitable now. It took a long time for Bing to be profitable, but Bing is now profitable. Believe it or not. So, and I'm not saying it's like Bing, but I'm just saying like eventually you can make something work, even if it doesn't work today, if you've got enough subscribers. Sean Layden's math sucked.
Yeah.
Basically.
Did you? I don't know if it was you. He also talked about like reaching more players and stuff like that, and how like the consolidation of the industry is an enemy of diversity, and how it could lead to less diverse games if like more companies are bought and stuff. And he talked about this idea of the industry needing to grow, and how you can't tell the same stories to the same people in the same way anymore, right? And with this, with the whole Game Pass thing and the consolidation thing of like buying studios, a lot of people thought like, oh, he's taking shots at Xbox. But specifically his talking point about, hey, we can't just make these games and sell it to the same people and tell the same story the same way and all that stuff. Personally, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think that was a shot at PlayStation and Jim Ryan.
Oh, you think?
I think so, because you can make the argument that if you're telling the same stories in the same way to the same people. I mean, Horizon 2, God of War 2, Gran Turismo 7, Last of Us remake. I mean, those are all the same stories being told to the same people in the same way. Like,
yeah,
God of War is going to sell amazing and be great, but it's going to sell to the same people that played God of War. Same thing with Horizon and Last of Us. So it's like, are you actually bringing in new people, or are you just still, even though that segment of the audience is large, are you really growing? And I think that's what he was going for, because I do think there's sort of a little bad blood between him and Jim Ryan for what happened. So that was my initial read on that stuff. I think he was attacking PlayStation, or his critique of PlayStation telling the same stories in the same way to the same people. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that probably was a shot there, but it could also be a shot at just the industry in general, like retreading the same old ground over and over again, not allowing diverse voices to cut through, or try new things and stuff like that. I've said on this show before, a lot of the innovation in this industry seems to come from the indie sector these days. They're more willing to take risks. We were talking earlier about how Halo removed the dash jet or whatever because they're worried about upsetting fans of the hardcore experience and stuff like that. And I think like if you keep it's funny because Rod Ferguson of Coalition and Diablo fame, he said sometimes you have to betray the fans to bring them something new. And he said that about Gears of War 4, but Gears of War 4 did literally nothing new. So I have no idea what he was getting at with that comment. But even though he didn't deliver on that comment, he was right. I think sometimes you do have to betray fans to do something new. And it is a risk. But I think like in the Resident Evil 7 is an amazing example of this actually working. Like Resident Evil 7 was such a huge departure from Resident Evil 6, 5, and 4. And, a lot of people were skeptical about it. But it ended up being one of the better selling Resident Evils. And then Resident Evil 8 came right after it. And it was like, people were on board with it. People were like ready for a first-person Resident Evil. And that was an example of the risk paying off potentially. And I do think Microsoft is taking a lot of risks, but they're doing a bit of both. Microsoft is, and I think that's good. Like diversity is good, and Phil always talks about having a diverse range of business models, a diverse range of access points, whether it's cloud, console, or PC, and a diverse range of genres and a diverse range of studios. And like, can you like deny that Microsoft has like an incredibly eclectic range of studios right now. They've got studios that make online games, multiplayer games, service games, single player games, classic RPGs, action RPGs, first person RPGs, first person shooters, third person shooters, simulation games, racing games, arcade racing games. They even got a 3D action platformer studio now, and some of the stuff they're doing with their third parties is crazy too. Like, we talk about Project Dragon from IO Interactive and all that sort of stuff. And, In Exile's making a steampunk RPG, which I've recently heard a little bit more about. And there's just tons of stuff on the horizon. And variety is the spice of life. Like, look at Netflix. Microsoft has been poaching staff from Netflix for this reason. Netflix know how to appeal to a mass market consumer base. And one of the ways you do that is to give a little bit of something for everyone, because people are pretty different. Like, people back in the day, people used to say that Xbox is a shooter machine. It's the machine just for shooting games. Do you remember that, Rand?
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, Xbox is a shooter machine. You can't say that nowadays. It's got like all these RPGs coming. It's got all the like Sea of Thieves like has guns in it, but it's hardly a shooter. We can't really call Sea of Thieves a shooter, can we? And they've diversified so much, and it's really great to see. And it's one of the reasons I'm so excited. I'm like someone who loves tactical games. I love like Wasteland 3. I love Gears Tactics, and I really love Pillars of Eternity. I love the fact that we've got Obsidian making cool games, and in Exile, and all the stuff that I want is cornered there. And then all the stuff you want, Rand, like you sort of, you love like narrative adventure games and Halo, and what else you like? I don't even know.
I like everything, man. I'm good. I like really good indies. I like RPGs.
My
I like
Little
Halos.
Pony,
Perfect.
Barbie game.
Yeah. We all know my love for Barbie. We all know that.
Well, I just love the variety, coming out of Xbox, and I think like Sean Layden does have a point. But that's another thing. This is another reason why I worry about the rise of mobile. Mobile only has one business model that works, and that's pay to win. That's the only business model that works on mobile. It's pay to win. Every mobile game that is big is pay to win. And I increasingly worry that people have, especially the younger generation, think that's normal now. They're just like, oh, free to play, pay to win, that's okay. Because that's what we've grown up with. They don't know any better, because getting access to those better experiences is hard. If a parent be like, well, you've got a phone, just play like, a free game, Alas, these are the times we live in, Rand.
Yeah.
These are the times we live in. Our way of life when it comes to gaming could be going away, man. Could be going away.
Don't say that.
Everything might be pay to win in 10 years.
Shout out to Graham B for becoming the newest member of the channel. Thank you for supporting everything I do here. What else? One small thing. Forza Motorsport 7 is getting delisted, Jez. It's 4 years.
Motorsport 7?
Yeah, Forza Motorsport 7. It's about to hit its 4-year anniversary, and usually Forza games get delisted after 4 years. It's getting removed from Game Pass, but anybody who's bought DLC for the game in Game Pass who doesn't own it will get a token for the full game. So there is that.
So they get to keep it, but it's being delisted.
Well, so if you played it in Game Pass and bought any DLC before this announcement, they will send you a token for the full game in your messages.
So people who own it can still play it.
Yeah. It's just not. They're just not selling it anymore because the license is expired. For the cars and stuff.
It's so weird, this whole licensed car thing. Like, how much value does that bring to the game for you? Are you a big Forza guy?
Forza Horizon, yes. I like Forza Horizon a lot.
Why don't they just remove the licensed cars and just add, like, made-up cars? Like, Halo Warthog.
No.
They could put, like, video game cars in there, man.
The whole point is that they're real-life cars. And I think it's, like, while you can extend the licenses, I think at this point, like, Forza Motorsport 7 nobody really plays. So there's no point in, extending the license when you have like a new motorsport coming out next year. But I could totally see them extending the license for Forza Horizon 4 because presumably next year in October, Forza Horizon 4 will get delisted. But then they just started selling it on Steam, so it's like maybe they extended the license a little bit more. I don't know. But yeah, so keep in mind, if you want to own Motorsport, if you don't own it yet, it's currently on sale. Like I think the Ultimate Edition is $20. It's on sale until it gets delisted. It's like $20 for the Ultimate, which comes with everything, and it's $10 for the base version. So yeah, it is going to be because this will be the only time since like the first Motorsport that there isn't a Motorsport game available for sale. Because usually the sequel's out by then. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, I really want a Forza kart game with
Yeah.
cars.
Remember when we thought there was a Forza kart game coming, and then it ended up being Forza Street?
Forza Street sucked.
Yeah.
But man, Forza Kart would be so rad. I don't really like proper racing games, but I do like maybe some Mario Kart every now and then. It'd be so cool to have like a Forza Kart, and don't you maybe like have like you could have like 1 or 2 licensed cars, but I think it'd be cooler to have like vehicles from other games, like but Smash Bros, but of racing games. You could have like a Halo Warthog. You could bring in vehicles from like Gears of War. What are the games that have vehicles in them, Rand? Help me out here. I'm getting tired.
I don't know. That's a good question.
You could bring in a horse from Elder Scrolls.
A horse from Elder Scrolls. Jeez.
I don't know. Man, chat, help me out. What are some vehicles in video games? I don't even know. You could have like a dirt bike from Charles Rising or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you could do some of that.
Like it could. I think that'd be super cool if they did that. They could like license like cars from Disney, like the Cars cartoon or whatever. That could be really cool, but maybe Microsoft doesn't have anyone to develop it. They could just hire me to develop it, man. I'll develop it for them. Nuts and bolts, someone said.
Nuts and bolts, yeah. But I think we've come to the end of the show. So if you guys have any questions, make sure to put them in chat. Me and Jez will get to them. We'll answer some of them. But I want to thank everybody for being here. We had over 1,000 people, which is great. I think a lot of people. Sometimes we do the show on Saturday. I think the show suffers. I think a lot of people enjoy it more on Friday. And we've also moved it an hour ahead, and I don't think many people realize that. So the show's an hour earlier than normal. So hopefully we'll be back on Friday next week.
Yes.
I couldn't do the show yesterday. It would have been impossible. And who knows what we'll be talking about? Who knows what the video game industry has for us to talk about? But I thought it was a great show. I always love podcasting with Jez. You're amazing. Thank you for being here because you weren't even sure because you're out there in Germany with your girlfriend and it's a little bit late for you. So everybody appreciates that you still want to do the show. And
of course I do.
And tell your girlfriend that thank you very much for sharing you with me because
That's so good, man. She's just watching some Kardashians.
So do you guys watch the Kardashians together? Is that what happens?
Yeah. Hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's all about the Kardashians, man.
It's all about the Kardashians. Let's see here. We got George who says, Rand and Jez, predict Halo's Metacritic, and can you ask Jez about the steampunk RPG from NXile? So he wants to know about the steampunk RPG from NXile, Jez. Can you?
Well, I don't want to spoil too much about it. I will say it's called Project Cobalt.
Uh-oh.
It is steampunk, supposedly a steampunk RPG. I think it's pretty early in
first-person shooter,
development.
right?
I don't know for sure about that. I suspect that it probably is first person, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I have no idea like when it's coming out, how far along is it and stuff like that. It could be miles away, but it is codenamed Cobalt, and it is on the list of things that I'm watching out for. So I'm pretty excited for that. Like NXL's been growing very, very quickly. They've got a ton of vacancies open. The studio's like really talented. Like I know you're not a fan of turn-based tactical games, Rand, but there was some really cool features in Wasteland, even if you like that advanced the genre. Like I don't know if you did any of the cutscenes and stuff in that game. Like some of the art, the crazy art style that comes out of that studio is really
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah,
Character design and stuff like that.
I had heard like last year that they were doing a steampunk RPG, first person shooter-ish kind of game.
Yeah,
So-
it's not a new rumor, but I recently got good confirmation of this project Cobalt.
I think
or
it's
whatever
years and years away though. Probably
Yeah,
2024, 2025. So I don't know if we'll see it anytime soon.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got here. So Halo Metacritic. He wants us to predict Halo Metacritic. What do you think? I mean, I know we played a little bit of tech preview against bots. We don't have the full suite of multiplayer. Haven't played the campaign. So as of right now, Jez, how are you feeling about the Metacritic?
I'm gonna say, I mean, if I'm gonna be completely honest and realistic with myself, I'm gonna predict mid-80s based on literally nothing. Haven't seen what the full game's like. Haven't seen the story. Haven't seen the way the game progresses. Like the story could be some kind of amazing godsend that takes it up to a 90. But right now, based on basically nothing and my personal expectations, it's I'm gonna predict low to mid 80s right now.
I'm going to predict anywhere between an 85 and 88. I think, let's see, I think Halo 5 was an 85, I believe, around there. I want to say maybe you're looking at like an 87. But I think a lot of the scores, what will determine the majority of the scores will be how good the campaign is. I don't really think a lot of reviewers are going to play the multiplayer very long. And it won't factor very much into a lot of people's reviews. It's going to be how good is the campaign. So, if the campaign's good, then the score will be higher. If the campaign's not so good, then the score will be lower. So, that's kind of how I feel.
Yeah. I just have generally low expectations of Microsoft to deliver a great campaign a lot of the time. I don't feel like they want to take risks very much narratively. So I'm not predicting 90s for this game, but we'll have to wait and see.
Whittia says, I missed the top of the show. It's 5 a.m. But did you talk about Flight Simulator's launch and Metacritic and the microtransactions controversy? I mean, I talked about my experience with it, and so did Jez, that it's not really a game for me, that I'll fly around to a couple spots, and then that's it. I'm going to delete it. The Metacritic was really well received, and there is a microtransactions controversy, or controversy, as Jez would say. Do you know anything about the controversy?
No.
So there's a bunch of DLC, like individual planes and all this stuff, that modders made that then they sell individually, like on the marketplace. So you know how Asobo, they do a whole bunch of free updates, and there's like 3 different versions of the game. And if you get the standard, you don't have as many planes as like if you bought the premium, right? But then in the marketplace, there's even like more planes not made by Asobo. I believe they're made by modders, but like Asobo lets them sell them on the marketplace. So like a bunch of people saw that there's like, I don't know, 200 some odd DLCs and a plane for $20 or whatever, and they just started to kind of complain about microtransactions and Microsoft game and stuff. You didn't see anything about that?
No, I didn't. One thing Microsoft constantly talks about is creator economy. Making games that hobbyists can make a business out of. And they use Minecraft as a model for this. There are companies that make millions of dollars making maps for Minecraft. And they want that for games like... They probably want that for Halo Forge. Like, I haven't heard anything to that effect. But it's one thing they are becoming more interested in, is this concept of creator economies, where they let modders make money. Like, Bethesda's seen success with this. Minecraft is the obvious one here. And also Roblox is like a massive creator economy game. So that is something you're probably going to see more from the industry in general going forward. It's something Microsoft talks about a lot with their investors and bring into their other games and other franchises. I think they experimented a little bit with Gears Escape mode, where like people could make maps and share them. And I think that's something they want to try for other games and let modders, make money, and thus Microsoft gets a cut of that. because they haven't had any success doing that with app stores. Because Apple and Google are so dominant there. So that's that whole thing. And yeah, traditionally mods have been free, but honestly, I think if a modder makes content and wants to get paid for it, I think they should be able to get paid for it.
Yeah, it's not really controversy. It's just that some people tried to make it out to be like a huge deal, because you know how it is, right, Jez? You can imagine the type of people that were trying to make it out to be this huge deal, but it's not. It's not at all. Nico wants to know what's going on with Moon Studios. I believe they're making a Zelda-like RPG. I want to say the game's published by 505 Games. I forget who's publishing their game, but they're not working on Ori, unfortunately. Ori 3, or with Microsoft. So that's what's going on with them. Darren's stuck on Death's Door looking for where to go for the third big soul. I want to say that's what? Left of the door? Left of the door you spawn in and I forget where that's at. It's like at the top of the map, I believe.
Yeah. The third big soul is the ice castle, isn't it?
It's the ice one. So that's like top left of the map or something.
No. It's like, I think you actually have to go to the middle left first.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go through. You have to go past the fish restaurant place. The fisherman.
Yes.
So like, there's a fisherman hut.
The stranded sailor. Yeah.
The stranded sailor. You go past there, behind there, and then you find the mountain path to the castle.
Yeah.
That's where you go next.
You gotta go to the stranded sailor. Airfat says, when is Xbox gonna solve the regional issues? I still can't buy Xbox nor Game Pass. I mean, that's an important question, and you're always on top of that one, Jez. The regional stuff.
It depends on your region. It's an ongoing problem for Microsoft. Like, some countries just don't want Microsoft there for national security reasons, because Microsoft obviously has contracts with the US military. So it depends on where you are. If you're in a country where the return on investment's not going to be good for Microsoft from a cloud perspective, chances are, it's a economic issue. Maybe it's a tax issue. Maybe it could even be a military issue. There's like tons of reasons why Microsoft can't operate in certain countries, and it sucks, but it's just, it's the world we live in, sadly.
Yeah. Marky Kelly wants to know if we have any Design Lab controllers. I do not. Do you?
I have a Gen 1 Design Lab controller. I actually bought a pink one for my girlfriend a while ago. And she has tried Halo, actually, Rand. My girlfriend played some Halo Infinite last week. So that was fun. And also she played some Flight Simulator.
Yeah, I need to get one of the new ones. Jose says, haven't you tried Flight Sim on Series X? I did. Yes, I played on Series X. It looks incredible when you get to like downtown New York or Chicago or some of those like tropical islands and stuff. It looks really good. Airfed also wants to know if we have any news on Compulsion Games, Jez.
I have no news on Compulsion. Compulsion's like super secretive. Like, I have no information on those guys whatsoever. I'm really looking forward to what they come out with, because they do have some like unique ideas, that studio.
Yeah. Nico says, Jez, is there any Heroes, Might and Magic-ish type of games being worked on for the console?
You mean like tactical card games? I don't know what kind of game that is. Like, isn't Magic? I don't know. I don't know what game that is, I'm afraid. Do you know what kind of game that is?
Heroes of Might and Magic? Not really.
I was thinking Magic the Gathering, but I don't think it is that. I have no idea what kind of game that is, I'm afraid.
Yeah, Ryan wants to know, isn't part of the Series X sales being lower than Sony due to Microsoft allocating Series X hardware to servers for the xCloud? Any idea how much hardware is going to the servers? Jez, do you have any insight on this about the how much hardware for Series X is being allocated to xCloud?
Well, nobody knows the hard figures for sure. But like pretty much all the Xbox One S blades have now been replaced with Series X blades, so you can readily assume that's like hundreds of thousands of consoles, maybe even more. And also that's like as part of Microsoft's global expansion, they're expanding xCloud to new regions this year as well. So that's a lot of silicon going into servers. And the way they're using the Series X, I believe, right now is to run 4 instances of Xbox One version or something, but with SSD speeds. Might be wrong on that actually. Did you hear anything about that, Ron?
About what?
So they're using the Xbox Series X hardware to run 4
Yeah.
Xbox One instances
Something like
with
that.
the SSD speeds, something like that. I don't know, but so maybe it's not that many then, because like each Xbox Series X server blade represents 4 nodes in xCloud potentially, at least for the time being while they're expanding.
But
But it is a lot of silicon.
Maybe that's just like the Series X can emulate, like, because we do have instances of Series X, like Ori running at like 120, and there are Series X versions of games, so those wouldn't be Xbox One versions of the game. Maybe they're just like, there's so many Xbox One games, we can use the Series X blades to run 4 instances of an Xbox One game. But there's definitely...
maybe it's when the server spins up, it's based on what game you're running.
Yeah.
So like maybe if you want to run an Xbox One game, it just does it on a server that's split 4 ways. But if you want to run, an enhanced game, it just takes up the whole thing. I don't know. It's complicated.
Yeah. Let's see. Stodgy Caesar isn't it Private Division publishing the next Moon Studios game? It could be. Like I said, I know Xbox isn't publishing it. They announced who it was, but I don't know. Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you who's publishing their game, but you might be right. Ermi wants to know, Rand, did you talk about Miles' interview with Jason Ronald? Great to hear Res Boost and Xbox One X enhancements are being worked on. Yeah, your boy Miles Dampier had an interview with Jason Ronald on Windows Central Gaming. Anything you want to highlight from that, Jez?
It's a really cool interview. It's a really cool interview. Miles is really good at interviewing people and a lot better than I am at doing it. They did talk about a bunch of stuff. Like there are some questions that we weren't able to ask, which is, some people complain in the comments, why didn't you ask these questions? It's because we were told we couldn't ask them. But, they did highlight the way that there was some really interesting stuff about the way FPS boost works. It's like they do it by manipulating the CPU or something and like just doubling up, making the game speed higher, but slowing down the animation speeds or something like that. It's really complicated. And they just talked about like how much of a challenge it can be in some cases, and that Dark Souls 3, for example, had to have a whole new method developed just to get it to FPS boost, because the previous method they used for the other games wouldn't work with Dark Souls 3. So I thought that was some really cool, interesting takes there. But and they do it without interfering with the game code at all. This is all like manipulating the game code from the hardware side, which is like, dark magic. It's really cool stuff. So like if you want to learn more about that stuff, like they talk a little bit about what they're about. It's mostly about FPS boost, but they did touch briefly on the future of backwards compatibility and enhancing previous games, and also like resolution boost and stuff like that, and what their plans are there. So go and check it out on Windows Central's gaming channel on YouTube, and drop us a like if you enjoyed it. But yeah.
All right. So I think that'll be the last one we take for now. We're going to end the show, so if you guys could do us a favor, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe button. Follow me and Jez on Twitter so you know when the podcast is live. And if you're listening to this on iTunes or Google Play, we'd always appreciate if you rated the show 5 stars or whatever, left a review. That actually does help quite a bit on those platforms. Jez will have the show up as soon as he's able. Hopefully you guys, be able to listen to it like Sunday morning or whatever. So yeah, we'll be back on hopefully Friday this next week with a lot more to talk about. So you got anything to say before we get out of here, Jez?
Nah, just thanks everyone for watching. Smash that like button, as YouTubers say, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, that's right.